I gotta get the bag. Yeehaw! It's bull wrangling time.
Yes, yes. Welcome back, everyone. Hello. How are we doing?
Fuck you, Marco. Fuck you, Marco. Fuck you, Marco.
Let's see how we sounded. First off, let's just make sure everything is all blessed in the West. Let's see. See how we sound and see how we look and see how we feeling. Yes, yes. Welcome back, everyone. Hello. I'll turn them sound effects up a bit. How about that?
Bingo. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
Thumbs up the team.
Yes, do thumbs up the thing. Do thumbs up the thing. There's no reason not to, and there's every reason to do it. Welcome back. I'd like to start this stream. I'd like to start this stream by playing a little game. We're gonna play a little game, okay? The game is called, thank you so much, Storm Chaser Patrick Pineda, setting the vibes off right. Why didn't they read it out loud? Why didn't they do the text-to-speech thing? He says, I'm live, sitting here waiting for a tornado to drop. I'm in basically Scooter's backyard. Still wouldn't miss this. I love that. Yes, we're back. It's been a while since we've done a Scott and Peter stream. Let me first, let's start with a game. I want to start with a game, okay? The game is called Guess Whose New Video is Basically Done. I'm going to give you, in the chat, I'm going to give you an opportunity to guess whose new video is basically done.
Marco.
If you said Marco, you're correct. If you said always Marco, you're so correct. New video I exported last night. And I've sent it to 3 people. Don't be offended if you're not one of those 3 people, because I'm almost certain you're not. The only 3 people that I sent it to were people who absolutely were essential to see it before it comes out, and that was Fidel, who is in the video, Franz, who is my friend Franz. If you guys remember when I was in Vietnam in February, I did some streams with my bodyguard Franz. He is in the video. So I had to send it to them to get their, like, you know, make sure they're okay with all of their appearances in the video. I don't want to, like, release a video with my friends in it that they don't like how they were, like, you know, in it or whatever. So I sent it to them to get their approval. Both of them said they love it. They have no feedback, no notes. That's a good start. That's a good start. The third person I sent it to was my boy Kyle. And I know y'all are going to be like, Kyle? Who the fuck is Kyle? I sent it to my boy Kyle, who is doing the thumbnail for the video. He's also a very good editor in his own right. I edited this entire video by myself using my laptop. I don't even have a mouse, bro. I edited this whole thing using the trackpad on my laptop. And I really think it's a step up in terms of, like, my editing and my just overall, like, presentation. You know, I think I've really mastered this, like, format of the infiltrating video where it's sort of a hybrid of in-person infiltration as well as showing clips and things like that. So this one's a little bit different in that we build up to the infiltration rather than getting to it immediately, rather than, like, immediately being in there. We sort of build to it. So yeah, maybe that's something that will, I don't know. I remember when I sent 2 years ago when I sent the last infiltrating video to Coffeezilla, I sent it to him early to get his feedback. He was like, I think you should change this. I think you should, you know, you should get in there faster. Because in that one, the original draft, the original cut of the video was like, it had me talking for like 5 minutes before we even got into any of, like, the juicy infiltration. And this time around, it's still, I don't know, I still think it's juicy because the intro is so, you know, well done and whatever, but This one definitely builds to it more, but I think it's very earned in this video. And I also don't think there would have been a way to to edit it like any other way. So you'll understand when you see the video. Those are the people who've seen it. And yeah, I needed to send it to Kyle so that I could get his so that he had more, I guess, options for the thumbnail. So as I said, the video is basically done. Let me keep an eye on the chat here on my phone, because if I have the YouTube link open, it's actually gonna fry my computer for some reason. And thumbs up the ting as well.
Thumbs up the ting.
It's free to do. Thank you, Patrick, again. Beyond, be safe out there in that storm. Jake, you're late to the party. We talked about this weeks ago. Glad that you're also excited about it, Jake. But yes, we're aware. You said Marco got his revenge. All I will say to that is not yet. Not yet. Just wait and see. I will get it. What up to all the mods and all the members? Snoopy Doo, NPaz. Look at this. Specs, Brandon C. I'm just scrolling through. Bad Dog, John Reardon, Short Bus Windows, Lick Alex Morton. Uh-huh. Oh gosh, Burger Baron talking to his friend about Amway. What a mess. DTI, what up? Yep, Bridget Reed's book. Check that out. Joseph, what up? Alexis, what up? Okay, let's see. Beyond, you're the first person to chase a tornado while watching an Always Marco stream. I'm sure everybody watches Always Marco stream, right? Everybody in the world is watching right now. Thumbs up the ting. Affinity Life, what up? So also, with the topic of today's stream, Scott and Peter, you guys have been asking me to do a Scott and Peter stream for so long. And I think I've said this before, but I'll say it now. The reason that I haven't done a Scott and Peter stream in so long is because, you know, they talk about me on their show basically every week. Either they're talking about me amidst all the other stuff they're talking about, or the whole episode is about me. This has been going on for 4 years. The reason that I haven't been able to in the past, like, I don't know, it's been much less frequent in the last 2 years. I used to always, like, every week, I would be like, let's check in with what our boys are doing and at least do a small segment on Scott and Peter. The reason I haven't been able to do that, and Scott and Peter, I know you're watching this, at least Scott is, Tex. So maybe you can take this as a note if you want more, if you want to appear on Always Marco's show more. Some advice for you on how you can do that is, Scott and Peter, on almost every episode that they've talked about me in the last like 2 years, they've talked about things that I'm not at liberty to talk about or to like rebroadcast. So, you know, I've mentioned vaguely, you know, legal issues that I have in the past. And you know how it is when you see like interviews with like a celebrity where they're like, oh, I can't comment on that at this time because it's an open investigation or whatever. It's basically like that. There's certain things that they talk about on their show that I can't talk about. And I think that me rebroadcasting their show on my show of them talking about something I'm not allowed to talk about could be construed by a judge or by a, you know, opposing law firm as me talking about it in some roundabout way, or me broadcasting something I'm not supposed to be broadcasting in a roundabout way. So because of this, it adds the hurdle of me having to go and listen to the entire episode that they do beforehand to make sure there's nothing like off color that they're mentioning that might get me in trouble, which one, that takes away some of the fun for me of it, because I love reacting to their show blind. I love being like, what the fuck are they going to say this time? So that's part of it. And the other part of it is, if they do say something that I'm not at liberty to talk about, I would either have to just not react to that episode at all, or I will have to download the audio of that episode and then like myself go and edit out the part where they're talking about the thing that I'm not allowed to talk about. And they've done this consistently over the last 2 years. So this is the reason why I haven't really talked about Scott and Peter. But a lot of people wanted me to do a Scott and Peter stream. So Last night, I went through, and by the way, all of their episodes are like at least an hour long. So you can imagine how I'm not very excited about the idea of like having to go and listen to an hour-long podcast just to check if it's okay for me to react to, by which point I've already listened to it. It's so boring to listen to, even when I'm with you guys, like, you know, live having fun with it. So on my own, listening to it to be like, okay, yeah, and now I've listened to it once and be like, okay, yeah, this is safe for me to listen to on stream, so now I'm going to listen to it again on stream. You know? So that's really that's the reason why I haven't done the Scott and Peter streams, because they insist on talking about things that I'm not at liberty to talk about, and I'm not about to risk my own, like, you know, lawsuit or whatever by, you know, doing or saying the wrong thing, you know. So what up? I am unique. What's poppin'? Brandon's so hyped for the video. But anyways, I did that. I did all that. I went through and I found an episode where they do still mention me. They mentioned me twice. But they don't talk about any of the things that are like, you know, could get me in trouble. So I found an episode where we can react to it. And this is them talking about the most recent MLM conference, which I myself haven't even seen yet. But even despite that, the ideas that they share in this episode are so nonsensical that I was like, you know what, we should probably listen to this and go through and just show how ridiculous it is. Jake, you're even more late to the party, because in the time that you've spent to type these messages about the FTC suing IM Academy, you would have also known, you could have also looked up that most recent update on that and realized that a couple weeks after the FTC sued them, they did actually shut down. They ceased all operations. So they already have shut down. X Gonzalez, wow. In the cult. Why is the audio? Oh, there it did play. X Gonzalez in the cult for 27 months. Make some fucking noise for that. Patrick Willis says, got hit with an ad. What the fuck? Bro, YouTube is on a mission to give you as little as possible while charging you the most. Like, they want to make the service. Gone are the days of innovation where companies are actually trying to make shit better. Now they're seeing how far can we get away with making the service worse to force people to pay for the premium. I have it set to insert mid-rolls manually after the stream ends. I have the box unchecked. There's a bubble that says let YouTube insert mid-rolls for you, recommended. YouTube will determine which ad formats are best for your live stream and when ads appear. I don't have that checked. I said, no, that sounds like you're going to spam my audience with ads. Then there's another one that says choose how mid-rolls appear, and you have to choose one. Schedule mid-rolls at a set frequency or insert mid-roll ads manually. I have it on manually, so I can do it myself later. And now y'all are telling me you're getting ads. So obviously they don't give a fuck. Love that. Joseph says, Wallahi, 2-2 is my word. This video gonna make me hop off the porch, Crody. Still. Thank you, X Gonzalez. One of us. 1-2, you pre this? Wait, are you not getting it? I mean, I don't know if I am getting ad revenue. There's no way for me to see a breakdown of like, Patrick watched this ad, so I got this much money. There's no way for me to actually know how many ads. Like, they don't tell you that. They tell you if you made ad revenue and how much, but they don't tell you like how it breaks down. Like, okay, my audience watched this many ads. They don't tell you that. The iron curtain of YouTube analytics, of YouTube data. Also, I will say this. When talking about the new video, I know I've said it now 3 weeks in a row, where I've said this might be the last stream before I do the, before the video comes out. And as it turned out, I needed more time. I know I said last month, I was like, for sure this month. It might have even been at the end of April that I was like, for sure in May it's coming out. But I promise you that the wait I mean, look, we've already waited fucking 2 years for it. We can wait a little bit longer. It is actually almost done. There are people who've actually watched it. And it will be worth the wait. It's always like that with these videos where I think it's done and then I have a little bit more work to do, or I watch it, I think it's finished, and then somebody else gives me feedback, or I watch it with a pair of fresh eyes, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, I could cut this out. I could move this around. The problem that I always face when it comes to these infiltration videos is anytime I point something out or like make a point about how something, some scam element of MLM, which, as we know, every element of MLM is a scam. Everything is a lie. Everything is a deception. Everything is not true. Everything is false, rather, I should say. My mind starts then working of like, okay, well, what would they say in response to this? Like, what are the rebuttals going to be in the comments? And then I feel compelled to preempt those responses in the video itself. So I'll make a point and I'll be like, yeah, this is deceptive. And then I'll go, people defending it might say, well, actually, XYZ, XYZ, and here's why that's nonsense. So basically, in short, the thing that I struggle with when it comes to these infiltrating a pyramid scheme videos, and the reason that they keep getting longer and longer, is because I almost feel compelled to explain not just what's wrong with that company and not just what's a scam about that company, but I often feel compelled to start talking about like the wider MLM phenomenon overall. So like in this video, I comment on something that is present in all of my previous videos, but I've never actually commented on it in a video before. So it's like, I don't want to spoil anything. It's something to do with like, no, I'm not even gonna spoil it. Being very careful. So, yeah, it's tough sometimes to walk the line and be like, here's why it's nonsense that this company's doing it, and also every MLM is doing it, So, but I think I'll give it one more watch over and see maybe I can cut something. It's just everything is so good. Every part of it is so good in my opinion that I don't want to cut anything. Everything that I talk about is so interesting, so insane, so like the claims are so gratuitous, And I said this about the last infiltrating a pyramid scheme video I did, and I'll say it about this one too. The word that I would use to describe the video is surgical. It's surgical, Every word is carefully thought out. Every angle that could possibly be assessed is assessed. The research I did for this was fucking so deep. Like, I started doing research on this video, rather for this video, by spying on the, social media accounts of the top distributors. I started that process in January 2023. Was the first time that I this was the same time that I was doing the research for my last infiltrating a pyramid scheme video. So I would be on my Finsta account seeing Instagram stories from the accounts of both people from that company and people from this new infiltration. So I've been watching this company and its people for a long, long time now, 2.5 years. It's been since January of 2023. And I'm actually glad that I didn't release the video sooner, because even in the last month, there have been developments, like, for example, the IM Academy getting shut down thing. That is a new development that was important for me to mention in the video, because Fidel is in the video, and this was like his whole, it like completes his whole arc. The fact that now the company has been shut down and now Fidel is on this like redemption arc in this video, helping me to expose the new company. So I'm really excited. And honestly, bro, last night while I was cooking my last meal and eating it, I watched an hour-long retrospective analysis on Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, the PlayStation 2 game. I love this shit. I love this shit. I love a fucking good video essay. You know, I love a good, as long as it's good, as long as what I'm being presented is interesting and, you know, I like it, I'll watch it. Bro, I have some shit on my watch later right now. I have a video in my watch later right now, I'll tell you. The new Batman Adventures analysis complete cut. This is a 2 hour and 50 minute, 3 hour long video. A 3 hour long video about Batman the Animated Series Season 4, aka the new Batman Adventures, an analysis. Analyzing what? Just doesn't matter. 3 hours. I have another video on my watch later because I'm on a Jack and Daxter kick right now. 2 hours, 59 minutes. The rise and fall of Jack and Daxter. Dog, this video has 2 million views. 1.9 million views in 2 years. How about this? I think I told y'all about this. This might have to be a video that I watch every year. There's only a few videos that I make a point to watch every year. One of them, as you know, is James Charles' Bi Sister. Because... oh my god. People who don't know the story are like, what the fuck? Honestly, sometimes I have a hard time figuring me out. Like, I'm interested in so many different things. It's like... let me see. Refresh this shit. What up, Liam? Liam in the chat? Okay. Here we go. Okay. I watched... okay, bro. 13 million fucking views on this video. Jenny Nicholson. I've never even... I don't know who Jenny Nicholson is. I've not watched... this is the only video of hers I've ever seen. And I've watched it twice. 4 hours and 5 minutes. 4 hours and 5 minutes. The spectacular failure of the Star Wars Hotel. 13 million fucking views. Simple thumbnail. And it's a simple video. It's her talking to the camera at different points. Obviously, she filmed it in segments wearing different costumes. And of course, there's like tons of cutaways and footage. And like, it's a really well done video, in my opinion. I've watched this video twice. Oh yeah, I was going to say, people are like, why did you watch James Charles' Bi Sister every year? The reason I watch James Charles' Bi Sister every year is because even though I don't know anything about James Charles, and I also don't know any anything about like makeup or whatever, James Charles' Bi Sister, is it still up? Is like probably the best internet beef. No, sorry, I'm sorry. James Charles, forgive me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I said the wrong thing. Bi Sister is the video that came out that's exposing James Charles. The video I'm thinking of is No More Lies by James Charles. Oh my god! The video No More Lies by James Charles, right here. 50, bro, I'm pretty sure this is man's most viewed video.
Hello, you guys. James Charles
Hey guys.
here, and welcome back.
Hey, hi sister. Bro, this fool. It's his most viewed fucking video. This is one of the greatest YouTube videos of all time. Don't fucking at me. This is one of the greatest YouTube videos of all. Bro, when this shit came out, I can't believe it's been 6 years, bro. I need to watch it again.
What?
I'm due for a rewatch of this. May 2019. Bro, this came out like a couple months before I started on YouTube. That's fucking crazy. Bro, I'm gonna do about, you know what? I just decided this. I just decided right now. If we fill up the dono goal on this stream today, I'm going to do a special stream reacting to No More Lies by James Charles. We're gonna sit together and watch the whole video, and I'm gonna tell you everything I love about it. That's so fucking funny. We're gonna do a whole stream about reacting to No More Lies by James Charles, so I can tell you from my brain that was raised on 50 Cent and rap battle and, you know, this sort of like whole culture of like hip hop beef, why I think this video is so fucking good. Okay? It's just like the best. You talk about bringing them receipts. You talk about spilling the tea. Woo! They shot everything they had at James Charles. Now, by the way, I'm not defending James Charles. I heard there's some new controversy with James Charles. My whole point is, when this first happened, I didn't know. I'd never even heard of James Charles. This was my first introduction. This was my first introduction to James Charles in 2019 when this happened. And I just saw the way that the girl who made No More Lies, Bye Sister, was coming at him, Jeffree Star, Shane Dawson, all these super fucking famous people who I didn't know anything about them. I just saw they had millions of followers. And then James Charles, who was like a fucking 18, 19-year-old kid at the time, came back, bro, with the receipt. I think there's a lesson. If you're going to be a content creator or a rapper, or let's say content creator, where you're at all a controversial, like you talk about something where you have people who want to debate you and whatever, like for me, the MLM thing, obviously we get endless people telling me I'm a hater and whatever and trying to debate me and this and that. I think it's an amazing case study. I think everybody should watch that video. It's fucking insane. It's fucking insane. So yeah, anyways, and that's also a long ass video too. It's his most viewed video ever. How many fucking views did that have? No More Lies? 41 minutes, 34 seconds. It's slightly shorter than my last infiltrating a pyramid scheme video, which was 42 minutes. 58 million views! 58 million pussy bombaras clot views. That's incredible. That's truly fucking incredible. Imagine the bag off this. Is this monetized? This one video has more views than my entire YouTube channel's history times 10. This guy fucking rich off this shit. Rich off defending his fucking bag and sniping all his enemies. That's crazy. Anyways, the point I'm making with this, to get back to my point, because you know I have ADHD, I always go off on a tangent, then I come back to it. I always come back to it. The point is, my video being an hour and 9 minutes or whatever it's going to end up being, I don't think that's a big fucking deal. People love these infiltrating videos. They always want more. The first one I did was 17 minutes. People loved it. The next one I did was like 27 minutes, and I was like, fuck, maybe it's too long. It's 10 minutes longer than the last one. Did even better than the last one. The next one I did was like 30-some minutes. Did just as good as the one before. The next one after that in 2023 was 42 minutes, even longer than that, and it was the best performing out of all of them. And now the new one, we're over an hour long, baby. Oh shit, it's over an hour long. Fuck yeah. Fuck yes, dude. Thumbs up the ting.
Thumbs up the ting.
Let me see what y'all are saying in the chat here. It's called Media Analysis, Not Slop. Yep. I watched a very good 2 hours video of Grim Dawn. I don't even know what that is. Is Scott not essentially on the same side you are? No, he's not. As in his own words, he's anti-MLM when it's done wrong and pro-MLM when it's done right. Made it up. Anti-MLM channel got hacked by some crypto bros. Oh, fuck. Damn. Two-factor authentication, babies. New infiltration video, made it up. Yep. Snapchat sends you random snaps from sponsored brands. I hate that. Patrick says, as long as you get paid, I don't care how much ads I get. I listen passively while I'm doing other things. Appreciate that. I'd rather that ad money go to the cult. So true. Does Amway sell a lotion that I can watch the infiltration video with? I'm sure they do. They sell everything. Use their artistry line. Don't cut anything. If you have to give us parts, man, we live for these infiltrations. Here's my promise to you. I will never do parts. I will never. Let me tell you why I'll never do parts. I fucking hate it when YouTubers drop videos in parts. It absolutely chafes my whatever. I hate it because, am I lagging? I hate when YouTubers intentionally release a video in parts ahead of the fact. Even, like, for example, I'll give you an example of somebody who did this recently who I think could have got away with not doing it this way. Our boy, Coffeezilla. Y'all thought you were about to catch me saying something bad about Coffeezilla. I'm not. This is just my personal preference. He earlier this year, last year, whatever, released a video that was a 3-part investigation on a company. I forget. It was some crypto thing. I would have watched. I think each part was under an hour. Let me pull it up. Jamie, pull that up. Coffeezilla. Here we go. I'll tell you exactly what it was. it was it the CSGO? Yes, it was this. Okay, it was Valve, right? I got bribed by casinos, but I exposed them instead. The Dark Side of Counter-Strike 2, Deception, Lies, and Valve. So all these videos did well. I mean, this was sort of a rare occurrence where part 1 did really good, of course. Part 2 does a little bit less views, of course. 1.3 million less views, of course. And then part 3 does even better. When I see that, I'm like, okay, most of the people who watched the first video, 5.7 million, also watched the third video, like the conclusion, but you lost 1.3 million people in the second one. I don't know. If you add up the length of all these videos, 25 minutes, 39 minutes, it would have been over an hour. I would have loved to sit in and watch a fucking Coffeezilla hour-and-a-half long video. I would love that. I would love to watch an hour-and-a-half long Coffeezilla video. I think that would get fucking so many views. I don't know. But, yeah. My point is, I don't like when I have to wait for the next part. Like, unless all 3 parts are already out, and then I discover it, and I was like, oh yeah, this series from a year ago has 3 parts. I'm gonna like watch all 3 of these in a row. I want to watch it now. I want it now. You know, and with how much I've built up the anticipation for this video, and I don't know, there's just, this video is so good, it doesn't feel right to split it into parts, you know? Like, I could separate all of the research and commentary into as one video, and then the actual infiltration could be its own full-length video on its own. So you'd have like a 40-minute analysis video, and then a 20-minute long or 25-minute long infiltration video where I'm actually going in, and I don't want to fucking do that. I don't want to do that. So, the only time that I've ever done a part 2, if you look on my channel, was part 1 was already its own self-contained, conclusive story from beginning to end, beginning, middle, end. The only time I've ever done a part 2 was when the meta required it. Like WFG part 2, I'm responding to criticism. I'm going back and like trying to get more, conversation. Part 3, WFG, it's like a whole new cast of villains. I'm talking about, the top players. I'm talking about Ed Milet. WFG part 4, I'm going to their in person. Like, that was the first time since the first 2 installments that I'd gone in person. So WFG part 4, I'm in person at their hockey game, and again, it's a new cast of characters for the most part. We're talking about like Ben Hilborn and Jarek Chin, and there's also some carryover like Greg Stranadka. I'm talking about him as well, as anyways, there's always been like a reasonable next evolution. And for this video that's coming out, there's hours of new content. I posted on my Instagram story recently that I could have made this like a 6-part Netflix docuseries because of all the footage I have. But I have plans for that as well, depending on how the main video goes. I have so much more footage that didn't make it into the final cut, but stuff that really killed me to cut out, that I can do more live streams off of, and more videos as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I don't want to cut it. An hour and 9 minutes, bro. I know what my own habits as a YouTube consumer are, and I see the performance of videos like that Jenny Nichols video, where it's literally just her talking about her experience at the Star Wars hotel and showing footage from it. I've watched that video twice, and it's a 4-hour-long video about a fucking a company that's not even in business anymore, a Star Wars hotel. So I think I'm okay with my 1-hour video. Like I said, as long as it's good, as long as it's compelling. And this video is the most ambitious thing I've ever done. You're going to see the pinnacle of the hybrid content of me doing commentary as well as doing in-person infiltration. Plus, you're seeing the character arc follow-up, Where Are They Now, of Fidel, coming back from the dark side to help me expose this company. And we're in a foreign land, a faraway land in the video, and like not just going to the company's office or like to a meeting. We're going to like, I'll give you a little tease. We go to so these MLM companies do like their big conferences all over the world. Sometimes they have it in different countries, and it's like their big conference with like tens of thousands of people. So we went to a certain country, And it was on the day they had their big conference. And we didn't go to the big conference, but after the conference in the evening, they had like a exclusive black tie event, which was just for the very top, like 1% distributors in the company. And I went to that with the three of us. We go to that, and we get some on-camera interviews with the people, with the top distributors who we are talking about throughout the video, and also the CEO of the company, which is a first for this series. There's a lot of firsts for this series. I'm not doing the infiltration by myself. That's a first. I'm in another country doing it. That's a first. I get the CEO of the company. I talk to the CEO of the company. That's a first. It's actually amazing that I haven't spilled all the beans on the details of this video. I think you'll be shocked when you see it. You'll be like, oh, that's what this motherfucker's been working on. It makes sense now. It makes sense now. But yeah, I'm trying to be very careful. You know they love to sue the MLMs, so I just wanted to be very thorough and very careful about everything I say, and release it in a I don't know, I guess safe way. So yeah. About to be a banger, says Liam. Yeah. Marco is a man of many hats, so true. Sidelock says Jenny Nicholson is amazing. His controversy is not for the makeup. True. Gummy drama was epic. I remember exactly where I was. Crazy. James Charles is always in some sort of scandal. He's in one right now. I love it. Point by point, Marco, we need a breakdown. Yeah. You know what? If we fill up the dono goal for this stream, you know what we'll do? Not only will I react to No More Lies, but we'll do the saga. I'll react to Bye Sister, the now deleted video by whatever her name, Taddy Westbrook, and then I'll react to the follow-up, the response, No More Lies by James Charles. Thank you, Ashley. You're gonna send me info on Ali Soap's criminal charges. Nice. At the end of the video, crescendos into find out what happens in part 2. I hate that. Okay, we're not arguing. We're not arguing about James Charles. What up, Mertuza? Appreciate you. Thank you. Says glad. Says did not realize how ignorant I was about MLMs. Yeah, it's a blind spot for many people. If you're fortunate enough to not come into direct involvement or contact with it, or secondhand involvement, you have a friend who's in it or something like that. You're very lucky. So yeah. Peg Marmaleg says, I'd rather watch a 5-hour video over waiting for 5 parts. I agree. Patrick's trying to brainwash me. Patrick says, why not do both? Release the parts the same day, then do a full video a week later? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You get the people that love long form content and the people that have short attention spans. So let me understand. So let's say I have an hour and a half of footage. You want me to release it 30 minutes in part 1, 30 minutes part 2, 30 minutes part 3, but then you also want me to release later the full hour and a half cut as one video? Don't be crazy. Don't be crazy. Tanner says, I've talked to Scott many times over the phone within the past few years. What am I missing here? I mean, the lore goes so deep. Basically, 4 years ago, Scott invited me to be on his little radio show. I took one look at it and realized this is not even, nobody listens to this. This is like not even on any social media. This is just on their little, middle of nowhere website. So I respectfully declined. He wasn't taking no for an answer. I tried to let him down easy. He wouldn't take no for an answer. He started trying to like little bro me about, he said some shit like, I don't think you know how much respect you should have for me. I told him to go fuck himself. And then since then, they've dedicated time every week to talking trash about me on their show. And yeah, the more research I've done, as a matter of fact, I haven't even really had to do research. It's sort of fallen in my lap. Is like internet sleuths have taken it upon themselves to like find out information about Scott and Peter and like, send me that. So I've ended up uncovering a whole web of information about the both of them, and you know, they make they make speculation and they make comments about like my personal life and relationships and whatever, and then as karma would have it, people send me profiles and say, oh yeah, you know, this is Peter Mingle's son's criminal record, or this is Peter Mingle's wife Arlene was in my DM last year, and I think on the last Scott and Peter stream I did 7 months ago, I talked about that, and other members of Peter's family being in my DM. Scott Johnson, he was in Amway a bunch, lost a bunch of money, missed out on a large portion of his son's lives because he was pursuing Amway. And I think his hatred towards me is just this internalized self-hatred that he's projecting because he knows, I don't know, I think his pride won't allow him to accept that he was scammed. And so now he's like constantly wrestling with this both siding of there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And Amway just took advantage of me. I wasn't scammed. There is a right way to do it. He just can't face reality. Will there be any nude scenes in this new video? I don't think so. Blink twice if you went to China. When does it come out? Don't ask me that. Don't ask me that, Frankie T. Because then I'd rather just drop it and you get it when you get it. Because I don't know. Soon. He wants you to do the Vlad TV edits. Okay. I mean, I will do like shorts and stuff for social media for sure. Think of it like episodes. Then years later, you get the DVD box set. This is YouTube, Patrick. You're talking about DVD box set. This is YouTube. Do they still call you narco? Probably. Never pay for a long time. Never pay for a long time. But luckily, Marco's infiltration video is free. So true. Arlene was trying to get rizzed up. So true. Also, appreciate you, Jeff Miller. Check in a week. Check in a week. If you haven't seen me post about it by then. But also, I'm going to say this. People, I've been trying to figure out a way to do like a sneak preview for the video. Because I do want to get like some feedback before it drops. But I also don't want it to leak. I don't want the information about the video or like information I'm presenting in it to get back somehow to the company. So, I was like, I don't know if I want to drop this on Patreon. I don't know what the move is, because if I was a conspiracy theorist, I would say maybe there's somebody from the Direct Selling Association who has paid $1 to be on my Patreon so they can see early access to the content. And then I'm going to post this video a week early on Patreon, and that person's going to see it, and they're going to pick up the phone and say, hey, there's a video that this YouTuber is about to drop about your company. Here's the link. Here's everything he says in it. Here's a download copy. Draft up your cease and desist letter or lawsuit complaint or whatever, and send it to him before the video even comes out, and stop him dead in his tracks. I don't want that to happen, and I mean, maybe that won't happen, but again, I said if I'm being a conspiracy theorist. So I thought, here's what I could do. Here's what I could do. What if I did something where, like, I don't know, I'm making this up on the spot. What if, like, the biggest bag, whoever drops the biggest bag, the one person who drops the biggest bag on this stream, what I will do is I will do a special premiere just for that person. What do you think about that? I mean, it could end up being, I could end up giving somebody a sneak preview for $1 if nobody drops a bag this stream. I mean, nobody's dropped the Streamlabs. Patrick, Beyond Storm Chasing, did drop a $10 super chat. But I don't know. I was thinking that could be an idea, because on YouTube, if somebody gives you their email, you can create like a private link that only their email has access to. I'm sure if they were clever, they could find a way to like download it and share it and send it to someone else. But I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. So, any whoosies.
God did.
Brandon CDIDDDDDD. 99
Okay.
Canadian dollars.
Apparently,
Bag Wars.
Brandon likes that idea. Bag Wars. Hilarious. Tex and Ming are honorary goons, says Jared. They know more of the lore than most, for real. So true. Type shit. Brandon, thank you, bro. I really, really appreciate you. Yeah, I think Brandon's got it, honestly. As I said, nobody's seen this video, so also the video in its current state is like still a beta version of the video. Basically what I did is I was trying to explain this to my aunt last night. So the video is fully edited. All of the segments that I cut away to, all of the edits, all of the pop-ups and sound effects, all of that's done. But all of the footage of like me like this talking to the camera about, you know, giving my commentary, all of that you see is just an A version that I filmed on my phone of me like reading the script directly off the screen. The reason I did this is because it's basically like a pre-visualizer or pre-viz as they call it in the film world. So like think about an animation like Pixar. Pixar doesn't start with the final, you know, polished render 4K animation and then do everything else. It's the other way. They have like rough sketches where it moves like, it's like stick people essentially, or like rough drawings that move frame by frame. You know, it's like, it's not animated yet. It's just basically drawings. And they'll do all of the voiceover and all of the like sound design and everything else first. And then they'll go back and they'll do all of the animation and background and trees and all of that. So that's basically what I did with this video where, appreciate you, Jeff. That's basically what I did with this video where I recorded a full like thing of me reading the script, just reading off the screen into my phone. So that way I can take that footage and put it in the timeline of my editing software, edit the whole video around that, and then see like, okay, do I need to change what I say in any part? Is there any part that doesn't flow well? Because sometimes when you are reading it off a script, it's a lot different than how it sounds or how it feels when you're actually watching it and listening to it being spoken out loud. So I'm really glad I did that because there was a lot of moments where I was like, okay, I can cut this out. Actually, that can be moved around. This part can go here. So now what I have is a final edit of the video, essentially, where you could watch the whole video and it's all the same information. Think like the Jenny Nicholson, sorry, where, here, let me pull it up. So the Jenny Nicholson video is, she's like this, right? She's here talking to the camera, and then it cuts away to footage like this and whatever. So that's similar to my video where it's me, you're seeing me here talking to the camera, but the only thing that I need to do still is the final version of the video is just going to be me reading the exact same, it's me saying the exact same words that are in the current version of it, but just with like the proper setup. So with my proper camera and the lights and the nice setting, but it's going to be the exact same content, if that makes sense. Just a better looking, I think the analogy I gave is pretty good. It's like the pre-visualization drawings versus the final 4K animation. So it's a completely watchable video right now. You will miss none of the information. You will miss none of the like glitz and glam of the final. Well, I guess you will miss glitz and glam, but you'll miss none of the actual substantive content of the video if you were to watch it in its current form. So perhaps the biggest bag dropper of this stream will get to watch this early A version before the final version comes out, which is kind of exciting because you're not only seeing it before everybody, but you're also seeing like an early version that when you watch the final one, you can kind of compare to, and you're getting sort of a look behind the curtain. I also think for Patreon, I can do a cool sort of behind the scenes video if anybody's interested in editing, or maybe I can do a stream on that where I show sort of like my editing workflow and maybe get some tips about how I can edit better. I'm sure editing on my laptop like this, like a little goblin, isn't the best for like my back and my neck and whatever. My neck, my back. As I said, I edited the entire video on my laptop using the trackpad and my fingers. I don't even have like a mouse and keyboard, which would have been a lot more relaxing, you know. My setup when I still lived in Canada, my setup at home in my last place that I lived was actually my best setup so far. I had a really nice chair with like the adjustable armrests that could go up or down, so I always had them like perfectly in line with my desk, and my keyboard was right there and my mouse. I was like, my shoulders weren't like this. I was like totally relaxed. Now I'm like a little goblin. What up, Tretino? Okay, let's get on with it then. So this is from May 10th. Scott Johnson and Peter Mingles on MLM conference review. Listen to this synopsis they wrote. Look how professional this is. On this episode, Peter Mingles and Scott Johnson talk about the conference with the domain name MLMconference.com, which traditionally tells negative stories about multi-level marketing. Retired Professor William Keep was suspiciously quiet as he hosted the 5th annual conference. The 2-day physical and virtual conference included previous members of the FTC, Sam Levine, attorneys from organizations like Truth in Advertising, Bonnie Patton, and data-confused expert witness Stacey Bosley. Some good points were made, and Scott Johnson and Peter Mingles height them fairly, and also bring up issues brought together by new author Bridget Reed with the new book with the title something like Little Bosses or something like that. Did a 5-year-old write this? Next week, Peter Mingles and Scott Johnson will review day 2 of the conference. Let's check it out. Let's go.
Welcome to Building Fortunes Radio. Make sure you check it out.
Oh, sorry. It's on 2x speed because I was skimming it. We gotta pay respect to the intro. We gotta listen to the intro properly.
Welcome to Building Fortunes Radio. Make sure you check us out at buildingfortunesradio.com. Along with our marketing partners, we're here to help our PM marketing network lead customers build their businesses and make the world a better place. At Building Fortunes, we know how much your business means to you and the people important to you. So spread the word, tell a friend, join our newsletter, and go make a difference in your world. Now on to our show with your host, Peter Mingles.
Hello, everyone. Peter Mingles here. You are listening to us on Building Fortunes Radio. It's www.buildingfortunesradio.com for anybody.
Building Fortunes Radio on a roller coaster, you know? I love their reading and writing level. So funny. What's worse, their audio quality or the level of reading and writing? As long as the video has Minecraft playing in the corner, I'll be good. Honestly, this is one of those times where it actually makes sense for me to use this. Oh, sorry, you can't hear it now. No way he's still doing this every episode. Doing the fucking intro of like the backstory. Bro, y'all they pad the runtime like no one else. Imagine if you think of a podcast you listen to. Imagine if Joe Rogan on every episode was like, hey guys, it's Joe Rogan. Yeah, this show started because, you know, I met Jamie 15 years ago. And ever since then, it's like, imagine he did every episode he did that. And it's like a new take of him saying it, not like the same clip, which would be bad enough. It's like, bro, Joe, we fucking know. Get on with it. He does each of these episodes as though it's the listener's first time, which, first of all, Peter, you don't have listeners. So I guess it makes sense. Like every person listening to it kind of would be a first-time listener. But bro, nobody's listening to it is the point. And the only people who are repeat listeners are my audience who are hearing it via my stream. So there's no point to this. Just stop this. Peter, I beg of you. The same way I offered you years ago that I would personally pay for a better audio setup for your show so that we could enjoy it better. bro, I fucking listened to a clip last night on Facebook of Peter Mingles on his Facebook page. Peter Mingles. Dude, here. His voice sounds completely different. I was like, is this Peter's voice? His voice sounds completely different when he has like a good quality mic. Listen to this. This is from his Facebook. The Network Marketing Magazine. Okay.
We're live. Good morning, good
This is some different guy, Russ Devan.
afternoon,
Russ
and
Devin.
good evening. The Network Marketing Magazine.
Sidekick.
That's not, I mean, look at these old fucking.
And
Here's Peter
one of
right
the
there.
great
That's Peter at the bottom. Ready?
influential leaders
Listen to his voice.
in the network marketing.
Mentioned how we met. Doris Wood, who
Yeah.
was the founder of the MLMIA, kind of put us together. You had a great reputation prior to us meeting because
Now here, listen to him on a show.
In August or early September, when we first started doing these shows, and
It's so much better. I mean, the show is so much worse than the Facebook thing. Bro, Peter, use that fucking setup. Whatever you did with the Facebook, your audio somehow gets compressed through like this AM radio. It sounds like when I was a kid and I would have to wake up early for hockey practice. I'm Canadian. I would have to wake up early for hockey practice. I'd be in the car like 6 a.m. It's still fucking dark outside. And my dad will be listening to like 630 Ched, which was like the radio station where it's like AM radio, you know, where they're talking about like the hockey game and whatever. And the audio is like, yeah, pass the package. The Oilers won by 3-6 here last night. Rexall Place at the stadium. Bro, it's so bad. I will personally fund. Bro, honestly, Peter, I mean this genuinely. And Scott, genuinely, I mean this. You guys would have a much better show, better audio quality, probably better viewership, better chance of it getting seen by people if you literally just did it on Facebook.
the way it started was I had done a radio show or two with Roger Van Vlissingen, who brought E. Robert Smith, and we even had.
Take a shot. Take a shot for Roger Van Vlissingen. Here, hold on. Let me pull up the BFR bingo. Y'all thought I forgot about BFR bingo. Pull up the. Here we go. Where are we at right now? We'll get a free space. E. Robert Smith. He's probably going to talk about that. Here. Oh, Roger Van Vlissingen. Okay, we already got it. Let's go.
Robert Fitzpatrick on one of our radio shows as well. And we were talking about a whole bunch of stuff. Scott called me shortly afterwards and he said, listen, you know, I heard those radio shows, but there's something you guys are missing. And I said, what's that, Scott? And he said, the tool scam associated with the MLM world.
Surely Tool Scam is on this, right? Damn, I got a tough, the bingo sheet is randomized every time you load it, so you don't always get the same options. Oh, here, recaps how Scott and Peter met. There we go. What about Tool Scam? Surely Tool Scam has to be a mandatory one on there. No? Okay.
And I said, you know, you're right. We didn't talk about that. And a lot of people don't know what that is. And I was saying to myself, I wonder if he's thinking about or stating what I was thinking about, because I had been associated with Amway a couple of times. And I looked at their tools, meaning their system, books, tapes, and functions.
Grace says, the radio show sounds so much warmer, though, like being on the phone with your grandpa. Your grandpappy.
As being somewhat not straightforward, meaning I knew people were making money on the business by selling books, tapes, and functions, as opposed to in the business. And I just
yeah, okay, Tool Scam will be the free space.
It was unfavorable or unethical, but it wasn't anything that I was going to really deal with trying to change, because I quit 3 separate times because their focus was on all the tools, not so much on the product sales.
I put it on 1.25 speed. Also, this story, man, this story has never made sense. It continues to not make sense. You quit 3 different times because the focus was on tools. Okay, if you didn't realize that it was a scam where the big people were making money off tools more than actual retailing products, like, as we know, that's like the big thing in Amway. Okay, so you learned it. You saw that the first time. You left. You went back. You saw it a second time. You left. You went back. And you saw it a third time and you left. Like, bro, what did you think was going to change?
And the only thing we were getting paid on was the product sales. So in the third time, I found out that, wait a minute, there's real profit here on the tools. And when I found that out, which I suspected, I decided that's it, I'm done. So we started a radio show about that. And then we kind of expanded into a whole bunch of other things. Sometimes we have guests like we've had before, everything from all different types of Amway distributors who had quit, and we've had attorneys, and we've had social media people, we've had a lot of different people as well. And then sometimes we do the radio shows ourselves. And tonight we're going to review the MLM conference and some other things as well, because every year they do a conference. But I want to focus on some of the things that Scott likes to focus on at the beginning part of his show, where he talks about the things that really a lot of people don't pay attention to relative to MLM, that if they were cleaned up would solve a lot of the problems associated with MLM. So having said that, Scott Johnson, thanks for being here on your own radio show.
Hey, Peter, thanks for having me. And we were talking before
On your own radio show.
the show that the volume on my phone wasn't great unless I was on my earpiece. But I put the connection in and out a couple times. It seems to be a lot better. So
you sound good to me.
Technical difficulties. Got it.
You're good.
I'm back on the phone. So anyway, we try to cover towards the beginning. And by the way, congratulations for surviving a 2-day MLM conference.
That was brutal.
It's quite an accomplishment, I think, to be able to make it on the other side. So, but we like to cover the things, particularly for new listeners, because neither one of us are anti-MLM and neither one of us are pro-MLM. We like to say that we're pro-MLM if it's done right, and we're anti-MLM if it's done wrong. And we have specific criteria, and my two specific criteria consist of, number one, the one that you mentioned is the tool scam, and particularly the Amway tool scam. I was in Amway for several years and experienced it firsthand until I found out about it, and I got off the tool scam. But what that is, like you said back in the day, because I was in at least from 93 till 2009, 8 or 9, I think it was. Anyway,
wait, how long?
Amway kicked me out several years and experienced it firsthand until I found out about it, and I got off the tool scam. But what that is, like you said back in the day, because I was in at least from 93 till 2009.
Damn, 93 to 2009. 16 years. Fuck's sakes. I'm also going to count this as Scott spends a long time on a short story.
8 or 9, I think it was. Anyway, and Amway kicked me out. I won't go into that story. I don't mind. It just takes time. But what I found is during that time period, what was being pushed really hard was the system or the tools. And what we mean by that is they sell books. They sold cassette tapes back then.
Do these guys not get bored just amongst themselves performing this intro every week? Mind you, these two know each other intimately. They've been doing this show a decade. And I've been following it, here and there for the last 4 years. Every single episode, they do an intro. It doesn't matter if they even have a guest on. There will be a guest on the line sitting there waiting for their chance to speak, listening to them do the same fucking spiel again. And here's an episode where it's just the two of them, and they're still going through this performative retrospective on their history and their relationship. Still. So they're also making each other endure it. It's fucking crazy.
And then they changed the CDs. Now it's all electronic downloads. And then there was meetings.
Now, by the way, now they changed it. It's 2025. Guys, 2025, Amway's not doing CDs anymore. Tune in.
Functions of all sizes, smaller local functions, large functions across the country. Those are what we're talking about. And so it's both the tools themselves, but then there's also costs such as shipping, tax. When you go to functions, there's travel expenses. If you're halfway across the country, you're talking hundreds of dollars, hotels, meals, all that kind of expense adds up. And, that comes to several $1,000s a year. Now, you don't notice it easily because it's done week by week, month by month, and you're putting a little bit of money in. But then when you get to the end of the year, you realize, hey, this is a bunch of money. And of course, you're told, and it's largely true, that if you had started a conventional, in other words, non-MLM business, you would also have business expenses and overhead. And that was part of my thinking of accepting those costs for years and years, because that is true in most businesses. If you want to start up a business, you got to buy stuff. You got to buy maybe machinery, maybe computers, maybe inventory. Maybe you have to pay some employees. There's all kinds of, depending on the business itself, potential costs that it takes. And it's very typical for a non-MLM business starter to spend maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years not making any money and actually losing money.
By the way, Brandon C., email me if you want that sneak peek. Brandon C. dropped $99. He donated $99. So if anybody here, let me bring it up here as well. If anybody beats that dono, I will give them a one-on-one sneak preview of the new video. Top secret shit.
And so, with that in mind, plus I had a pretty good paying job, I could afford it. A lot of people can't. So when they get into it, they have to quit because they literally can't afford it. But anyway, beyond what I've mentioned for tools, there's also website accesses. There's phone apps to run these downloads. There's voicemail. There's all kinds of stuff. And the markup on these things is incredible.
Also, Tanner in the chat a little while ago said about the beef between me and Scott. I just know that you guys are on the same side, that Amway is a load of bullshit. That's true. Along with all of the other MLMs. That's not true. Scott and Peter don't believe that all MLMs are bullshit. As a matter of fact, they are pro-MLM, as they say, when it's done right. I don't believe that that's even possible.
Beyond what I've mentioned for tools, there's also website accesses. There's phone apps to run these downloads. There's voicemail. There's all kinds of stuff. And the markup on these things is incredible. And it's almost all pure profit. And all of the profit goes only to the very top layer of distributors, which Amway now calls IBOs for independent business owners. And so that's the tool scam. Now, if they were open about it, if there was transparency there, I would take away the word scam and replace it with tool profit. But they don't. And the reason they don't, I think it's pretty obvious, is that people would look at that and go, hey, this really isn't the Amway business. This is your tool business. The Amway business is just sort of the bait. And then the switch is they make most of their money from the tools. And my poster child example that I like to use, if you Google the name Brigart, and he spells it B-R-I-G.
Oh, Brigart, that should be on the bingo sheet.
H-A-R-T, in the words Salt Lake City, you'll find an interview he did in the early 2000s with a Salt Lake City media outlet. And in that interview, he said, I was making almost $1 million a year from Amway before I got kicked out. And I was making $8 to $10 million a year from the tools. And I have other examples on my websites where people say similar things, never 10 times. That's why, again, he's my poster child. But it varies between like 4 and 5 times or, twice as much. And if you think about it, twice as much is not as much as 10 times. But even twice as much, that's 2/3 of your profit. That changes most people's lifestyle. If they triple their income, that's going to change your lifestyle, especially if you consider the first however many tens of thousands of dollars it takes a year just to exist, right? To pay your mortgage, to eat, to have a car, all those kinds of basic things. And so that extra money is not just the amount of dollars, but it's really the gravy on top of a little tiny steak that you're eating. So anyway, that's the tool scam, and that's problem number one. That's not universal. Some MLMs have one. Herbalife has one. I'm sure there's others. I've never dug into that issue. It's kind of hard to research because it's largely hidden. You don't see a lot out there where they're talking about particularly the amount of money that's being made. And sometimes it's by the company itself, not the top-level distributors as it is in Amway. So, a company can get into a tool scam too. If they have these big functions, like an annual meeting, and they make a boatload of profit from that and don't tell. Wrong too, because what that really does is it skews the business model. The people don't really know how the company or the upper-level distributors, where their priorities are. And so it's pretty important to know that information. I think that should be something that the FTC says you got to make that known. If it's more than, let's say, 10% of your profit, you need to describe that. If it's less than 10%, I'd say don't worry about it. It's not, it's going to barely move the needle. And so that's, kind of where I come from on the tool scam. Now, the other big problem, and
I swear when Scott goes into these long diatribes, I wonder if Peter is like, I'm sure Peter just mutes his mic and like smokes a cigarette or something. Peter will be like, back to you, Scott. Take his headphones off, set a timer for 10 minutes, go do something else, and then come back and be like, yeah, great point.
This is either universal or nearly universal as far as I can tell, and that is the lack of retail sales. And when I talk about retail sales, I'm talking about selling the products or services I can hear you, Puppy. Don't worry about it. It's way in the background, Peter.
I'm going to
Yeah, no
mute my
problem at all.
microphone out for a second.
Yeah, no problem. Barely can hear it. But anyway,
I'm curious what Scott Johnson's voice sounds like, not over the phone, like in HD, you know.
retail sales are to people who are not distributors, right? They did not sign the
Okay, should we skip ahead to them talking about the conference?
distributor contract, other connection to the company, but they have another opportunity, which is, hey, if you buy this,
Still going.
I think most countries even have laws against.
Still going.
It's 10, but if you have enough people, it's still half of the cost.
This guy's like Ray Bans when we did the debate with Ray Bans, just ranting.
Effective. It's fine. Problems go away. You know, back last Thursday and Friday, May 8th and 9th, 2025, and what they did is this is their 5th time they did it.
Okay, here we go. Here's the conference.
They've done it since 2021, and this is 2025. You know, so this is the 5th conference that they've done it, and I've been invited not to come every time. Now,
wait, I've been invited not to come. So you mean you've not been invited? What do you mean I've been invited not to come? We're inviting you to stay home.
when I say not to come, they don't have an audience. You're either invited or you're not there, but you can view it online. So that's what I do and have done the previous 4 years.
Tanner says doing an MLM right is by selling products to people who are not involved in the MLM. And then it's not an MLM anymore. It's just a sales company. So yes, it's true. There is no right way to do it.
And actually the first...
And I know MLMs would love to argue this and say, oh, well, the people in the MLM who are the customers themselves, they're not getting scammed because they're getting a product they love. Yes, but buying a product is a mandatory or de facto mandatory part of pursuing the business opportunity. Buying products from the company is how you increase your PV and your BV and your TV and your OV. So it's bullshit to say that they're getting the products they love. If they truly loved it, we should have seen them buying it before they ever got involved as a distributor. They would have already been loyal customers in it.
2 years it was remote only because of COVID, 2021 and 2022. And then starting in 2023, some of the people showed up in person. One of the interesting things this time, Peter, was even though, we're way past COVID and the last couple of years it was largely attended in person by the people presenting, this year there was a whole bunch of remote people, which I thought was a little interesting that people, the people that were presenting, most of them were not there in person. It was a pretty small, quote unquote, audience in the room at the time. So that was one of the things that I noted. I don't know if you have any comment on that.
No, I think a lot of people are thinking.
You can literally hear Peter unmuting his mic. You can hear him doing this. You can hear him pressing the button to mute his mic.
Out that Zoom is just as good as in person, and especially when there's not going to be an audience, that a lot of people chose not to travel, and they did what they did. So the one thing that I can say as far as stuff is Bill Keep is the retired, I think he's the Department of Marketing or Dean of Marketing or something like that, of marketing over at that College of New Jersey. So he spoke the least he's ever spoken on any of the conferences. Usually he's there, he throws in his opinions and or he's part of a panel, but on this one, he was basically just almost like the hat boy or the coat checker. He was in and he was out, and he couldn't wait to get out of there by 5 o'clock on the last day or any day. So they started on time, which is usually what they do. They're pretty good with staying on time, but he was really not there. So I don't know what was up about that. I don't know. I can't, like I always say, unless I know all the variables, any conclusion I draw is probably wrong. But it was suspicious that he was not there, even though he was there.
Yeah, he was there physically, but you're right. He didn't have much to say. I mean, he did the sort of the welcoming along with the dean, and I think he was like a interim dean for a short period of time. But most of the time, he was a professor. He was a teacher of business at the what do they call it? The New Jersey
College
School
of New
Business.
Jersey. I think it's the College of New Jersey.
Yep. So yeah, that was interesting. I may have had that thought in my mind a little bit, but I appreciate you bringing that out because he really was in the background quite a bit versus out front. So and he didn't even present any kind of
Also, I'm going to check. Marco predicts something Scott and Peter are going to say because they did the intro.
He did present at the very end a little bit of research, I guess you'd call it. But other than that, yeah, he was pretty quiet.
He was
interesting.
It was almost as if, some advice from a person that talked to me about attorneys. It says, if you don't say anything, you can't say anything wrong. So he took that stance, whereas he was not going to be sued by anybody now that he's not gainfully employed by the College of New Jersey. So he probably did this as a labor of love. Maybe they gave him some money one way or another for expenses, or who knows how they contributed to handle this. But there obviously was not a big budget for travel for anybody, probably not for meals for anybody, not too big. So it was a relatively low budget, which is not bad. I would probably do the same thing. But he was suspiciously quiet.
Yeah, I think he lives in Connecticut. So, even when he was teaching, he had to commute from, I understand it's in northern New Jersey, I don't know exactly where it is, to Connecticut. So I don't know if he lived there during the week or he commuted every day or whatever. But this conference was in Washington, D.C. I'm pretty sure it was at the Attorney General or Department of Justice, one of their conference rooms.
Jose Cabuto donated 10 Canadian dollars.
Jose, wagwan, me brother. Thank you, Jose. You're a legend. Appreciate you. King shit.
There in Washington, D.C. So he did have to travel, as most people had to travel, unless you were from the FTC or DOJ, or one of the lawyers that lives in D.C. If you were there, you had to travel. So, yeah, and maybe what the school told them is, hey, Bill, if you get in trouble, we're not going to cover any of your legal expenses.
Right.
So, and there was a legal presentation, which I thought was scarier than it had to be. And we'll get to that maybe later on. It was the last session.
Well, the good things about the session, it was there. They did it again. That's year number 5. They started on time and they ended on time. That was good. And they brought some people from credible people. So they had, people from the FTC. They had Bonnie Patton there from Tina.org. They had expert witnesses before, like Stacey Bosley. And they had some other people that were there as well. So they had some people with real credibility there as far as like credentials. So, and they also had that first speaker, which you'll probably touch base on, Sam Levine, who, these guys held, career-long positions in consumer protection. So they knew their stuff.
Yeah, he had been with the FTC, I think, for some time, and recently, I think within the last year or two, it left. I believe he's now with a outside law firm, probably making the big bucks. And a lot of the anti-MLMers, people have a big issue with that, but that's so.
Peace out, Jeff Miller. Oh, he said anti-MLM people. He almost said anti-MLM Huns or anti-MLM YouTuber.
In government to go back and forth between industry. You build up your knowledge in government, then you go make the big bucks. So, you can like it or not like it, but that's the way it is. That's reality. And I like to live in Realville and not make a huge deal about that. But what was interesting to me, because Sam Levine or Levine, however he says it, did start off the actual sessions, and I think from the very first word, from the very first sentence, he got political. Big time political. And I think if not every single person there can't be more than one or two exceptions, that they're all very liberal. And I think that's one of the main reasons I'm not invited, besides the fact that I have a different opinion on MLM, because I really don't prefer to whine and cry and complain and talk about how bad it is all the time.
Says the same guy who's been doing a radio show for literally a decade about his previously wasted 16 years. You've spent now 10 years whining and crying about losing 16 years. So you already lost 16 years of your life to Amway. And then you're digging the hole deeper by tacking on another 10 years by doing this fake anti-MLM thing where you reach out to people like myself, like you did in 2021, where you're reaching out to people like me when my, at this time in 2021, my channel was hot. I had a big video that had just come out, and Scott was desperately trying to get me on his show to talk about ideas. Really, it was to promote his ideas on my platform. That's what he wanted. He was trying to align himself with people or get people to agree with him about his point of view, and use anti-MLM creators as like an in. And this happens, it doesn't matter. If somebody drops, I remember there was the girl last year, she dropped her video about Amway, Rainy Fairy. Shout out Rainy Fairy if you're here. She had dropped a video about her Amway experience, had like a few thousand views, and Scott was trying to get her on his radio show. It's like, this guy's a fucking leech, just trying to get people the smallest bit of clout he can get, he's trying to take people who are posting videos that are about anti-MLM and trying to get them onto his show so that he can like change their mind in a roundabout way by first pretending that he's on their side. Bro, he's emailed so many people. He's emailed fucking Coffeezilla before.
I'm more solution oriented, and I believe I have a solution, which I just mentioned right in the lead in.
Turn their audio up, okay.
Make your tool profit transparent. That will probably reduce the prices significantly of the tools, because if they don't, everyone's going to leave, and then they won't have a business.
Old people only hate when things are political. When it's politics they disagree with. Yeah, no fucking kidding. So true. And it's funny too, because I'm sure Scott and Peter think that I'm probably super liberal. Remember, they called me. This is Scott's best joke to date, in my opinion, when he said, if you switch around the letters in Marco, you get Mr. AOC. And so he had called me. He should have rolled with that. That's a way better nickname. Mr. AOC is a way more insulting, way better nickname to try to paint me as like a libtard than calling me always always Marco the narco, Mucha Bear, Goon the Shyster, whatever the long fucking nickname he has. That's a way better nickname and way funnier and way more clever, saying that my name is an anagram of Mr. AOC if you take the letters of my name. That's so fucking funny. But even despite that, even though he thinks I'm Mr. AOC and I'm a socialist or whatever, bro, I'm fucking Mr. AOC, dale. I don't know. I really don't consider myself to be super liberal. I also don't consider myself to be super conservative. I just consider myself to be a normal guy. Some things I just common sense with it, I like to think.
So that's going to force
Mr. AOC is hilarious.
The tool scam to not be a scam, and it'll be a lot more affordable. The other thing is they have to lower the prices to be able to sell these things to customers.
Scott explains something he doesn't really understand. That's almost a guarantee. And
so that's going to put a lot of pressure on the MLM. And in my opinion, if that was a requirement, let's say the 50% that we talked about, then if not every single MLM, I think almost all of them would either go out of business because they just can't see how they can pay multiple levels and make it worth your time, for the prices that they have, or they're going to go back to direct selling, which is where there's no upline or downline. Everyone's connected directly to the company, and the money you make is the retail sales you have to customers. So there's no downline anymore to sell to, or I shouldn't say to sell to. I don't like mixing terms, for them to purchase, because distributors don't sell to other distributors. Distributors buy. They purchase. You sell to customers. You buy if you're a distributor. So anyway, yeah, he went on a real tear as far as the political angle of it. And what's really interesting to me, Peter...
Funny, that doesn't sound political at all.
If you think about it, in the last several years, we mentioned Vima and Herbalife back in 2016. That was Obama years. They both essentially got a slap on the wrist. But in 2019, when Trump was in office, Advocare, which is a very large MLM, they were doing about $750 million a year in the United States. I think they were either mostly or all in the United States. They agreed, again, another settlement, to drop MLM, pay, I think it was a $150 million fine so that the FTC could compensate the people that lost money, and the owners agreed never to do MLM again for the rest of their lives. And the FTC also went after a couple of the high-level distributors. And I think one of them settled. I don't recall how the other one turned out. Maybe it hasn't even been finalized. Who knows? Legal things take so long. But think about it. That was a Trump administration, and that was the harshest penalty we've seen, other than some of the really obvious MLMs that have been.
Nacho, it's not that easy. It's political, obviously. So funny. Okay, Ed, we get it. You're horny for AOC. Shut the fuck up,
Got down over the years, like Fortune High Tech Marketing, Burn Lounge, and some of the really old ones like Costco, some of those that are just so outrageous. It was just easy pickings. But yeah, when they get really political like that, you just scratch your head and you go, okay, well, what are the facts? Who was in office when this happened and that happened? And you can see it doesn't hold any water. Now, they were complaining about, how Trump is, and I think rightly, trying to reduce regulations. I don't think he's going to try to reduce regulations when it comes to MLM, because they're really aren't any to speak of. The main thing that the FTC uses is unfair and deceptive business practices. That's sort of their Bible. They don't go into much detail, and that was brought up too. We'll get to that maybe a little bit later. But anyway, that really struck me from Sam Levine or Levin is he was really political, and it was interesting also how he had recently left the FTC. So when he was talking,
Sean Munger, the same guy who did the YouTube documentary about the Amway tool scam, has a really video about Costco Interplanetary. Such a great story. I'm surprised that hasn't become a movie yet. I could literally see Leonardo DiCaprio or somebody like that playing. I always forget his name. The head guy from that company.
About different situations, he kept mistakenly saying "we," and he had to correct himself. No, it's not "we," it's "they."
Appreciate you. Unplug, TJ.
Oh, that was kind of funny too, because I've been there as far as changing jobs, and you have to kind of take on your current perspective, not the one you used to have, and so I thought that was kind of interesting. There's another guy that also spoke during that first session, which was moderated by Doug Brooks, a pretty well-known class action MLM lawyer that I'm sure has cleaned up over the years, because lawyers always do. And John Brault, I think that's how he says his name, from the National Consumer League, and they're pretty much all sympathetic. All three of these people pretty much have the same perspective and how things are, shaping up with the they call them NPRM, which is Notice of Proposed Rulemaking, and there's an ANPRM, Advanced Notice of Proposed Rulemaking, they're out there, but they've kind of been put on hold with the new administration. The new administration said, don't do anything with these documents until we take a look at them and give the go-ahead. And I think they're afraid that the chairman, Ferguson, I think it's Andrew Ferguson of the FTC, might pull these things back. That's what they were talking about. Now, I don't think they will. I think what they may do and should do is pull out all the DEI BS that are in those documents. That's something that I hope the Trump administration takes a look at as they go through these things and go, "Now you got to pull that out. That's not what we're doing now."
So what are you talking about, Scott? I thought we were talking about MLM here.
Anyway, I'll stop there and let you make any comments on that first session.
The one thing that I found about
that was almost a back to you, Peter.
That first session is they started to introduce the word workers. So they were talking about MLM distributors as being workers, and I was suspicious, but it became really common, which was even more suspicious of why they're trying to do that. They're trying to basically their narrative is supposed to be painting a picture of how an MLM distributor is not making any money. They're certainly not making any money when you do the math. Take as many hours as you think they're working, divide it by the dollar amount that they've earned. They're not making any money, and they're constantly saying these workers are being underpaid, they're being abused, they're being taken advantage of. And that I found somewhat suspicious, that they were sneakily trying to change the narrative to try to get an independent contractor moved over to an employee status where they'd have more control, and basically make the industry impossible.
That's a really good point. And worker almost reminds me of communism too, because that's sort of communist language is worker.
Workers' communist language. Got it. I'm learning something new every day.
Now, during these sessions, by the way, you can type in questions, and I know one of the questions I asked, which of course was not answered, is, well, what if the workers aren't working? Because I know, from my own experience and talking to many other people over the years, that most distributors who join either don't do anything at all before they quit, or they might do one or two tiny things and quit, and they're counted as not making money. Well, if you don't do anything, should you really expect to make money? If you were at your job and you didn't do anything, you would be fired. Well, you're generally not fired from an MLM for not doing anything, but your statistics show up in the percentages, right? This many percentage that make any money, for example. And so I just find that kind of funny when they use the term worker and then pairing that with the word work. Well, what if the workers don't work? And that's something that they always leave out.
If you work, you should get paid for the work you do. Hot take, controversial opinion. And in MLM, we know that it doesn't matter how much work people are doing. They're still not getting paid. They still lose money regardless. How many people have I talked to on Multi-Level Misery who dedicated years of their life, some more than a decade, working hard as fuck to not make money.
from the equation, and that's going to come up later on too, because that came up in a later session, and they actually did put this question in front of everybody. And I know, Peter, you had to go in and out because you had other commitments during these 2 days. You may or may not have heard that, but yeah, that was an interesting thing where they really changed the language to work. The other thing that I haven't really noticed very much is they claim that the DSA and the MLMs are trying to get away from MLM, multi-level marketing, and use the word direct selling. And of course, the DSA, the lobbyist for MLMs, Direct Selling Association, uses that word, but they've been around for, I think, 110 years or so. And so the DSA was around when there was direct selling companies, like we mentioned earlier. The differences, and it's a fundamental difference. For you to gloss over that difference, not you, Peter, but I know that one of the later sessions they glossed over that issue. Oh yeah, we just kind of lumped direct selling and MLM together. No. They are so different. You really should not do that. So anyway, that was something that was interesting. They said, yeah, at least these people claim that the MLMs are trying to downplay MLM and use direct selling more. To me, it's not going to work, because even though you have the word selling in there, which implies that you actually are selling, it's not going to take very much time or effort for people to perk up and go, yeah, they stopped using this word, they started using this word, but it's the same thing. Even though, in my mind, it's not the appropriate word to use because it's just incorrect. But yeah, that was another one of those definition changes, I guess you could call it, that they were making, and it wasn't them that were making it. They claimed that the industry was making that change. Right. So I don't know. Have you seen that? I have not seen that very much.
I have not. I think they made it up. So
now, we did do 2 or 3 complete shows. I think it was a couple of years ago, Peter, where Amway had this long list of questions and answers on their website. I think
not Cold War propaganda showing up on today's show. So funny. I want to see Marco on Howard Stern. Would we click? I don't know.
I think they've taken it down since. But I went through every single question and answer with you, and it was amazing how many times they've referred to themselves as a direct selling company, and only towards the very end of this long list of questions and answers did they mention MLM. So, I'm not saying it's not true at all, but I just haven't seen that as a large...
This is another language game MLM companies play. They say, we're not an MLM company. We're a direct sales company that uses a multi-level marketing model to market our products. It's fucking bullshit.
Movement within the MLM industry.
What up, David? So true.
I think it's just not going to work. I mean, just like temporarily changing the name of Amway to Quickstar in the United States and Canada back several years ago, because they have changed it back to Amway again. It didn't work. It worked for a very short period of time, and it didn't take very long for people to go, oh yeah, Quickstar, that's really Amway. So, it's not going to work, and that was even before social media days. Social media is going to take about 24 hours, for people to wake up to that. So, anyway, anything else on that first session?
No, they're just trying to change the name to. If they think of how stupid that would be. People don't like sales as far as that as a name. People certainly wouldn't like direct sales. So why in the world would the direct sales industry push direct sales instead of a multi-level marketing or social media marketing or whatever else they're going to call it? So it just doesn't make any sense. But I don't know where they got that rumor from, and I'm sure the DSA is not trying to put, by securing MLM, like protecting MLM, putting them under direct sales. I doubt that's an issue. There's a couple of things I want to mention, Scott. First of all, they brought this whole MLM conference brought up some really good issues, some that I wasn't thinking of. We'll talk about that as we go. And they brought up some other issues. Some of the really good issues that they brought up was stuff about, retail pricing, and they brought up stuff related to, the predatory practices. They brought up stuff, deceptive advertising, fraudulent activity, bad players, all that sort of stuff. So some of that stuff was really good that they brought up. They brought up one of the social, we'll talk about this a little bit later and expand it, but some of the social media brought up some events that are happening in the MLM world that a lot of people wouldn't be focused on. But overall, some of the negatives that were constantly brought up is all MLMs are commercial cults. That was probably spoken by many the speakers. So all MLMs are commercial cults. And
people ask me, what is a cult? What do you think it even means to be brainwashed? Is brainwashing not just using deception to get people to believe lies? Brainwashing. Let's look up the definition of brainwashing. The process of pressuring someone into adopting radically different beliefs by using systematic and often forcible means. Okay, so it's not even pressuring someone into adopting incorrect beliefs, but radically different beliefs. And in the case of MLM, the radically different beliefs are also untrue. Here's another definition here over on the same page. Controversial idea that the human mind can be altered or controlled against a person's will by manipulative psychological techniques. What does brainwashing someone mean? If you brainwash someone, you force them to believe something by continually telling them that it is true and then preventing them from thinking about it properly. Synonyms: indoctrinate, condition, drill, pressurize. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what what they do.
Are bad. So the overall theme from a lot of the people, besides the FTC people, a lot of them were basically on the idea that MLM is bad, MLM is really bad, and MLM is really bad. So especially the author of the book, I think her name is Bridget Reed or something like that. There's a book out, Little Bosses or whatever it might be called, that was up and showcased as well. But the thing that I found not fair was they said the idea that it was all bad. The other thing is I'm going to say it impolitely, and it probably sounds kind of crude, so I'm just going to tell you. These academics sit there and masturbate with their data. I mean, literally. I mean, they sit there and play with themselves, and I think they get a Woody or whatever else you might be getting. They Jeffrey Toobin'd it. Like, they just sit there and masturbate around the data, which isn't even real data. And I have no idea how they think that means anything, but whether it's income disclosure statements or data that was done in 2004.
Okay, keep in mind what he just said. He's saying that the academics who like to jerk off with their data, the data is not even real. And the first example he brings up of the supposedly fake data is income disclosure statements. You know who publishes the income disclosure statements, Peter? The MLM companies themselves. So when you say it's not real data, I actually agree with you, because it's being published by the people who are doing the scamming. And we all know that any MLM income disclosure can be decoded to show how it's actually the opposite of reality. For example, sneak peek into my new video. In my new video, the MLM company's income disclosure shows that just over half of all distributors even made anything. Of the amount that made, of the just over half that made anything, 50%, more than 50% made this much. So they're already leading us down a path of deception. They're telling us only half of a little more than half earned this much. So we're actually talking about around a quarter of people earned this much. Okay. Then when they show the amount, it's the amount before expenses. It's an average, okay? So it's the amount per year, which breaks down to, I think it's $5 a week. I have to go back and check the video. $5 a week that people made, that more than half of the people who even made anything, which was half of the total, made $5 a week before expenses. In this company, they have to spend around $140 a month minimum even to be considered an active distributor. So if you say someone was in for 1 year and they only earned $5 a week for 1 year, it's like $220 for the whole year. And then you take 140, multiply that by 12, and then you subtract you do the net income revenue versus expenses. They actually end up with a negative $1,500, something like that. So you see how an MLM income disclosures is fake. Yes, that's true. It is fake because they're able to use clever accounting to present losing money as actually making money. On top of that, the deception goes deeper because they're reporting it as an average. So even them saying that, on average, half of the people who made anything made $5 a week. Well, that $5 is an inflated number because it's being brought up by the people at the top of the company who are actually earning the hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars that they preach about and talk about in all of the promotional material and advertising material. So, yeah, even the $5 a week is inflated. So the negative 1,400 or whatever I said, once you factor in the expenses, is even still too high of a number that they made. It's actually the negative even goes deeper still. If you take two people and you calculate an average between them, and one of them made $0 last year and the other made $1 million last year, and you ask me what is the average earnings between these two people for last year, well, it's $500,000. They both have an average of $500,000 collectively. So it makes the person who lost money seem like they're doing good, and it makes the people who made a lot of money seem like they're not doing so great, like so much, there's not such a disparity there.
To 2013 with Fortune High Tech, which is what Stacy Bosley focused her thing on, or some of the other data that was out there, it was really quite useless and even preposterous, where some of the people were talking about the way to fix this problem is we have to get rid of recruiting.
Or de facto mandated to buy products from that company of which you are a worker. Imagine if it all of a sudden became a mandate that every McDonald's employee had to eat at least one Big Mac every day, and they had to pay for it as well. That would never fly. It's complete nonsense.
For personal consumption are tolerable.
Yeah, they're write-offs, Marco. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, my bad. Write-offs make it free all of a sudden. Write-offs mean you actually made money.
And okay, and I know you're going to throw in, when kept in line.
Yeah, Tretino, that was specifically with Mary Kay that they report the revenue as like what they're going to sell it for retail, not actually what it was purchased for. I don't know if that's the case in every MLM. I'm sure every MLM is doing some snaky shit like that, but I can't speak to that definitively.
That's not the only thing that's going on. But
Losing Fortune's website is the worst website ever to find anything. Yep.
They just didn't even have that as an idea that was even possible, that purchases could be legit. So back to you, Scott.
Yeah, in fact, the FTC, I want to say it was the Burn Lounge case.
It was.
Tried to make that point with the judge to say that distributor purchases should not be commissionable. And the judge said, no, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I believe what could be done, in fact, to me, this would be very doable, and it wouldn't hurt anybody unless you're not making retail sales, is you take sort of a standard amount that, the quote-unquote average distributor would buy. In Amway, let's say it's 100 PV. And so what you do is for the first 100 PV, you double the bonus for your retail sales, such that when you have those retail sales, when you're making double the bonus, then half of that bonus is what you would have gotten on self-consumption, and then the second half of that bonus is what you would have gotten on the retail sales. And so you make the same amount of dollars, but you have to make retail sales to get them. And that's really the goal anyway. So that's what I would propose doing. And of course, it's only for that first, wherever you want to draw the line, 100 PV, let's say. That's around a little over $300 in today's conversion, if you will, for Amway. And I couldn't tell you if that would work for other MLMs because I don't know all of the other pay plans. I think it would.
You're good, SPQR. I mean, you are on topic. You're talking about Losing Fortune's website, and we're reacting to Losing Fortune's. You're good.
Is to do that, is to not pay commissions for self-consumption. Now, your upline would still be commissioned for your personal consumptions. It's just that you, as the individual distributor, would not be.
Appreciate you, H
so
plus
to me,
G.
As long as you're making retail sales, the math is the same as it is now. But it would also encourage people not to overbuy, right? If you're only going to be compensated for that first 100 PV of retail sales, you're not going to go out and buy 300 PV because you're only going to be compensated for the first 100. And to me, that would be a very workable thing.
Yeah, but what about when the company has a monthly bounty or a monthly bonus for getting even more PV and getting your downline to get more PV? You need TV, you need team volume, or OV, organization volume, which means that your downline also needs to buy more. So you need to push your downline to buy more as well.
Thing to do. I mean, there are weaknesses to it because, you've got some large families that use more than they would normally consume more. You have some people that like to buy everything the MLM has, and so they're going to consume more than somebody else. But if you're trying to fix it, at least, let's call it semi-well, you could do that. That's something you could do to make it better. It won't be perfect, but to me it would be better. So I don't know, if you have any thoughts on that.
No, well, however they're going to figure it out, the idea that personal consumption is going to be a real volume associated with MLM, because most of the distributors are probably going to want to buy the products that they're selling, whether all of them or some of them. But to say that the distributors' purchases are almost bad like they're illegal or they're breaking some rules really just shows a general misunderstanding or non-understanding of the industry, because people will buy the products that they want and they deserve the commissions off of them. And whoever brought them in, it's not like those commissions wouldn't, it's not like that business would be there. These people think that just business shows up from outer space. It's like in the ether that this just happens. They forget about how much work and time and effort it puts in to recruit somebody, to train somebody, all that sort of stuff. And those product purchases deserve to be commissionable and are not necessarily evil. So if that's the only thing the company is doing, then that might fit under the pyramid rules set up by the FTC. But the reality is that none of the speakers spoke any legitimacy towards personal purchases. And that I found basically a misunderstanding or non-understanding of really the way the industry works.
It's such a stupid point, because why would the purchases of workers of a company even be a factor at all? Why would that be an essential factor of your business operating if what you really were was a sales company, a direct sales company who was concerned about product sales? In my new video, you're going to see a moment where the CEO talks about his goal for the company. And his goal for the company is to have X amount of people, X thousand amount of people reach the top rank of the company. It's very telling that a CEO of an MLM would say that their goal was to have as many people as possible, or a certain amount of people, reach this rank, rather than saying, as the CEO of a supposed sales company, notice he's not saying, he doesn't say, I want our goal to be this many $1 billion in sales. I want our goal to be that we're going to get into this new market. I want our goal to be that we're going to get into this new retailer. We're going to get into Walmart. That's not the goal. The goal is more people buying more product and recruiting people who buy more product so they can boost their rank. It's so telling. I mean, this new video is honestly going to get me fucking assassinated, but knock on wood, that doesn't happen. And I can't wait for you guys to see this new fucking video. If there was ever any doubt that I'm the absolute best in the entire world at this exact niche of content, this video will confirm it for you. If there was absolutely any quarrel or doubt, you can have your preferences. I might not be your favorite. We know I am. I might not be your favorite. But there is not, you're not going to be able to watch this video and say with any ounce of honesty that there is anyone who understands this topic on YouTube more than me. Stay tuned.
Including, and I'll call out the author, she seemed like a nice gal. I can't beat her up about that. Certainly someone who's probably a liberal based on some of the comments that she was making and the statements that she was making.
Trey Tino's ready.
Obviously academic, and the arrogance comes with that. Like, oh my God, you know, those door-to-door people.
Great point, Tanner. Internal consumption is the entire problem as to why IBOs lose money. Exactly. If there was no internal consumption, they might actually stand to make a net income, a net positive income off of Amway, or off of their MLM, if that was the case, or if that wasn't the case, that there was no internal consumption. Yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, that's the whole reason for the income disclosure being as abysmal as it is. Do you think MLM is just a broader approach of the entire life scam? I mean, people get scammed every day to buy things they can't afford or buy some brand that will make you more cool. If they fall for it or go that route, what else can you do? I think you're conflating something. I think, okay, I understand the question. Let me answer it like this. When you see a commercial for Axe body spray and you see all the women chasing the guy down and, you know, it's like, this is what will happen to you if you wear Axe body spray. Obviously, that's not true, right? But it's not false advertising, because a reasonable person would be able to discern that this is sarcastic. This is not an actual promise of what's going to happen if you wear Axe body spray. A normal person is able to discern that this is like hyperbolic and it's fantastical, right? It's not real life. It's fantasy. So despite that, it's still eliciting an emotional response from the viewer. You could still criticize it for being deceptive or misleading or, you know, not truthful in that way. However, if somebody goes to the store and they buy the Axe body spray, they're going to get the Axe body spray. Of course, it's not going to have the result that the commercial showed, but they are going to get the Axe body spray. In MLMs, this is the fundamental core of the scam, is that there is not this voluntary contract of, if you give me this, I will give you that. If you go buy Axe body spray and it's $10, you pay $10 and you receive Axe body spray. Done deal. No one was deceived there. Okay? You actually got what you wanted. Maybe there was deception in the advertising, but that's another topic. MLM not only uses blatantly deceptive advertising where they don't characterize the advertisement as fantasy, like the Axe body spray commercial where it's the women all chasing after the guy. This is so clearly over the top and ridiculous, and it's presented as such. In MLM, the over the top ridiculous image that's being presented of the life-changing opportunity and the wealth claims is presented as real life, as realistic. As, I know a guy in this company who's making $10,000 a month. I know this husband and wife who's making this much. Oh, you go to the events. Oh yeah, this guy, he was making this much. Now he's a millionaire. Now he drives a Lamborghini. We had this big convention, and all the top leaders are walking across the stage and getting a plaque and a diamond ring and a watch and a big check that says you're $1 million earner. This is presented as real life, which is objectively not true. On top of that, in MLM, there's no voluntary contract because what they tell you you're going to get is not actually what you get. They tell you, just pay this much and just recruit 5 people who recruit 5 people and we will be millionaires. But they don't tell you about you need to buy this much and you need to boost your PV by doing this and you need to get the bonus by doing this, and that actually it's a mathematically impossible endless chain that is doomed to cause the vast majority of people to lose money, even regardless of their efforts. And that by the time you join a big MLM, which has been around for decades already, you don't even know. You're probably on the 100th layer. You don't know what layer you're on. So, sure, there are scams like there are scams of all kinds, that's for sure. And people certainly do get ripped off. People do overpay for things. People pay for designer clothing, which they probably end up regretting and going into debt for. Fancy cars. People finance fancy cars and take on debt. Why? So that they can fulfill some need to look cool, or, it's some emotional appeal, right? Where they want to feel accepted or whatever. So people make bad decisions all the time. For bad reasons, of course, but at least when you go into debt for the car, you actually do get the car, and it actually might fulfill the thing that you wanted it to fulfill, which is that now you look like a cool guy in a nice car, and maybe it did help you to have the people be like, oh yeah, that's sick, even though realistically nobody actually gives a fuck. But again, that's something where it's being advertised as like a luxury vehicle or a luxury product, and hence you're paying a luxury price. In MLM, it's being pitched as, oh, you don't need money to start it. It's low startup. It's way easier than trying to get a McDonald's, which would cost you $1 million to start a franchise. And it's this and that. And it's like, I don't know. It's just such another level of deception, where literally none of it is true. Literally none of the promises are fulfilled. So it's a fair question, but it's not a one-to-one analogy. Yeah, Gray says, like suing Red Bull because you didn't grow wings. Exactly. There you go. Also, with MLM, you need to change your whole life and focus. Yeah, and you need to isolate yourself and cut off people who don't believe. Whereas Axe, you spend $5 and you think you will get chicks. Right. MLM is life-changing. It can change your life from being average to broke AF. So true. I love wasting my money on shit, but I know that I'm wasting my money. Exactly, says Tretino. What did I miss? Nothing.
So there's only scammers that do door-to-door. And of course, I resent that because, I built as many as 96 different offices with Electrolux as an area vice president, and we sold a lot on door-to-door. So anybody that says door-to-door isn't a reputable business or a reputable thing wasn't doing it the way we were doing it. I can't vouch for the whole industry. But door-to-door sales in general was poo-pooed on. Why do we even need sales? Why do we even need recruiting? I'm like, what the hell are you people thinking about? Like, what do you think makes the world go round? Sales makes the world go round. Recruiting a sales force makes the world go round. What do you want? And these are typically academics. So for them, doing nothing would be perfect. Because if you do nothing, just like if you said nothing, you can't do anything wrong, but the business would never go anywhere. So it's got to be blended in. They just don't.
And just like Scott and Peter, if you both side the issue and say you're pro when it's done right and you're anti when it's done wrong, then you also never have to take accountability or stand on business or back up anything you say. You can just flip-flop.
Just don't get it. And that's what I found frustrating, because the valid points that they were bringing up were certainly diluted by those arrogant or misjudgment points. And one of the things they did reference, which was the miscalculation or deceptive calculation, or potentially deceptive calculation of the volumes that companies say. So if you're buying from, I'm just going to pick out Mary Kay, and your distributor, you're buying Mary Kay $100 of stuff. So, you know, on your credit card is going to say $100 in the product sales portion, not the shipping or handling or anything else. Well, the company counts it as, if the commission was 50%, they assumed that you sold it for twice that. So they put $200 on the books. So in essence, the MLM industry does what lots of other industries do. They fudge the numbers to give them the appeal that they're doing more volume than they actually are. So that was kind of highlighted, which is good, but not necessarily revolutionary. But it was something that they did bring out that many people just wouldn't even think about. So your MLM company that says they do $10 million a month, it might not be. If you look at their receipts, they did $10,000 or $10 million in retail sales. They might have done $5 million, but they're reporting 10 because they figured that you're selling it for double the price, because that's the suggested retail, and that's what our volume is this month. So there's fudge factors in every industry, and MLM is normal. So it's just one of those things. But that was at least one good point to grow.
LOL, fudge factors, made it up.
Yeah, in fact, that's a good reminder to me, Peter, because I know that when that was brought up, they said that was on the BSA website. It's in the public area of the BSA website, and I haven't looked at that yet, but I plan to see if I can find that number, because I thought they said something about 75%. It wasn't clear to me, what exactly they were referring to.
It depended on which company they were referencing.
Yeah, but when you assume that markup, because I know in the case of Amway, even at IBO cost, it's really inflated pricing, and to even consider trying to mark it up from that, it's already impossible. You want to make it more impossible. Talk about mission impossible. Trying to add a markup on top of the IBO cost, it's ridiculous. I never even tried to do that, because it was just too embarrassing to even try doing that. So anyway, but that was an interesting point that they brought up, and I think that most MLMs, the distributors they're not able to charge full retail price. I think they have to discount it at least somewhat. I don't know how much, just because they're already expensive to begin with. Now, in Amway, you can offset that a little bit, and actually pretty significantly if you have a large organization, because you're getting anywhere between a 3 and 25%
great point. Did he say great points, Peter, and I missed it?
Bonus on those products that the customer buys. And so even if you sell it to a customer at IBO cost, even at the 3% level, you get credit for that 3% of business volume. So you do make money even if you sell it for exactly the distributor cost. And
did he say it back to you, Peter? Okay.
If you think about when you get to the 25% level, you could easily charge less than the IBO cost and still make profit. Let's say it's 12.5%. You take half of it. Say, well, I'm going to charge 12.5% less than the IBO cost, make it really attractive to the customer, or at least more attractive. I won't say really attractive because it's probably still pretty expensive. But then you still make the 12.5% profit. So, depending on the size of your business, you could make money by selling it for less than IBO cost. So, when you look at the math, but I agree with you. Just saying that distributor purchases are bad is just not very intelligent. Now, I would say distributor purchases are bad if you don't have retail sales, because now you're talking about an illegal pyramid. That's what makes it bad. It's not the distributor buying it. It's the distributor then not selling it as well to customers. That's what makes it bad. But
yeah, I need Scott embellishes the story.
I'm with you. By itself, distributor buying something is not bad.
It just doesn't make any sense what they're saying. Like, in any normal sales company, they would give you the product like on consignment. Like, you would have a stock, for example, of like, I don't know, I'm trying to imagine if you were like a selling door to door, God forbid, in 2025. You would send someone out with the products. They wouldn't have to pay for it first. It's like, okay, hey, John, take my vacuum cleaners that I want you to sell. Go door to door, sell the vacuum for $500. You keep $300. But he never has to buy the vacuum first. If you don't sell it, bring it back. It's a fully, you have just the incentive. If you don't sell anything, you don't make any money. If you don't, And as a matter of fact, sales companies that do this also offer like a stipend where if you don't make any sales, like a car dealership, if you don't make any sales, they'll still give you a minimum like hourly wage as well. So it's the opposite of MLM, where not only are you getting fucked on the retail commission you would get, but you're also mandated to buy an amount. You're also mandated to spend, and they don't give you a minimum like stipend. So yeah, it's like literally antithetical. It's anathema to real business.
But we're talking about, and by the way, I was kind of impressed with the author. Not that she got everything right by any means. I'm with you with her perspective and everything. But for her to be, I think, involved in this for maybe 2 or 3 or at the most 4 years, it's obvious she did a ton of research. I mean, deep dives. She knows a ton of stuff. And she does seem to be very factually oriented. I don't think it's as much from the interest of being accurate. It's more the interest of not getting sued. Because one of the really smart things that she did, and I'm sure she was with a major publishing company, I'm sure that they either provided or required her to do fact checking. And she said that, one of the things that she did was for each MLM that was referenced in the book, she wrote a list of claims, and then she basically, I think, emailed that to the corporation and said, do you have any comments on these claims? They're about to go into a book. And I think she said, except from one company, she didn't get any answers back. But, I think what that shows from a legal perspective, that you did your due diligence, that you gave the companies a chance to say, no, that's not right. It's like this. And so if you don't get that feedback, I think from a legal perspective, the burden is on them, not you. That's why you do those kinds of things, is to protect yourself legally. And so I thought that was a real good, sort of technique that a lot of these anti-MLM hunts don't even think about.
Yeah, and I think the negatives I have about the author wasn't maybe necessarily the amount of work that she put into the book and the idea that she thinks Robert Fitzpatrick is a good researcher. That just tells you a little bit about how much she really understands the industry. It was sometimes the subconscious or unbiased or biased prejudices that she had. Salespeople are bad. Salespeople are scammy. What do you expect us to sell things? Door to door doesn't work. All MLMs are commercial cults, even though she didn't say that specifically like that. But there was definitely a negative bias towards the people. Like all the people are basically taking advantage of others, and there's no such thing as somebody who knows like maybe what they're doing. The whole industry is just a whole bunch of innocent victims that were being defrauded, and they just the quality of the products maybe not be there. It was just a general stereotype, and quite honestly, I think a lot of it from her was that she's not done this before as far as being given the attention of being interviewed in public. So I'll chalk up some of the things that she said that she'd probably want to smoothen out on her next interviews. But it was definitely a bias, typical white woman bias against, things like, oh my gosh, you get dirt under your nails, blue collar worker, struggle with your bills, have to do whatever it takes to get the job done. No compassion with any of that stuff at all.
Yeah, and when you think about it, she's trying to sell her book because she spent 2 or 3 years, at least from what my understanding is of what she said, that she left her job and she focused on this book, full time, with no guarantee she's going to make much money out of it. So it's interesting that she's criticizing people trying to sell stuff, and yet she's trying to sell her book. And I think part of the drama of the book is to sell more books. Just think about all the anti-MLM huns that get caught up in the drama and the, all the emotion. Well, give them what they want; they'll buy it. So there's part of that salesmanship involved there.
Onyx, selling insurance on its own is not an MLM, but there are MLM companies that disguise themselves as insurance brokerages because there are similarities between the two, but there's not enough similarities to actually substantiate a one-to-one comparison. So do you have to recruit people? Is there an option to recruit people who also buy products? Is there a mandatory, in order to increase your rank, is there a mandatory or a de facto mandatory purchasing of products to increase your own PV or BV or some nonsense like that? If so, it's probably an MLM.
But it's the same thing she's criticizing. So it's just kind of a interesting little,
Yeah, and the other part is if you're going to study the industry, how many people did she speak to that have had success in the industry? So,
right.
I did a radio show interview. I know this is off topic, but I did a radio show, this interview, and we interviewed a gal that deals with nutrition.
They haven't mentioned me yet, Bad Dog. I said this earlier. I think you might have not been here, but I have to be careful with which Building Fortunes radio episodes I react to because in any episode where they talk about me at length, they do mention me in this one briefly, but in any Building Fortunes radio where they talk about me at length, they're always talking about legal issues that I'm not at liberty to talk about. And so I don't want to get in trouble by rebroadcasting their conversation on my stream, which could be seen as me, like, you know, finding a workaround to talk about or broadcast something that I'm not allowed to talk about. So, and they do this consistently. So, yeah, I have to be very careful with that. So, I mean, there's been so many good episodes they've done that I haven't been able to react to that I just hope one day I hope I'll be able to. I will be able to one day, but for right now I can't.
Nutritional supplements. So she's the person that helps companies.
So this is the stream where this is the episode where they're talking about the MLM conference, the most recent one.
Sell nutritional supplements. And I asked her the question, you know, now that and she works with a lot of MLM companies. And one of the companies that she was working with way back when, her daughter is older now. I think she said her daughter's 28. But when her daughter was 8 months old, she had E. coli poisoning. And the E. coli poisoning really destroyed this young girl's immune system. She was very, very sick, very, very weakly. And this person that I'm referencing started working with an MLM company, and she heard about a specific product that they had. She started her daughter on the product, and she kept her on the product. And she said, basically, that product saved my daughter's life. That product saved my daughter's life. So you're talking about a smart person, somebody's not gullible, someone talking about.
All that matters is they mentioned Roger Van Blissingen. Excited for the greatest hits.
Her own personal experience, all the things that she had tried, from 8 months to say 5 years old, what it was, and basically said, no, the products are really super duper, they're excellent. You know, I'd match them up with anything. And she works with people from companies like Amway and other companies like that, that when they sell the natural ingredients, should vouch for the professional nature and the quality of the products.
Look at the ads on Peter's website. I mean, you have this, Sabinsa, research-oriented multinational health science company, Pure Light, Ideal Network Biz, Step Change Innovations. I mean, this is just slop. Ad slop. Health insurance. Look at Pure Light. This is the website for one of the ads on Peter's website, Pure Light. I mean, what the fuck is this? The healthiest lights you can buy on Earth. Proven technology. Are you kidding me? Is this really like what I think it is? This is a light bulb? Is it a light bulb that is supposed to like... You're kidding me. It's just a fucking light bulb. A $25 for a light bulb. Helps eliminate odors. Helps most people feel happier. Helps plants grow faster and healthier and last longer. Cleans the environment inside your home of pollution. Helps eliminate cigarette and cigar smoke and odor. Helps eliminate allergens. Can't mention this yet. Number 7, can't mention this yet. Pending final EPA, FDA registrations. Are you fucking kidding me? It's an Amway light bulb. Is it an Amway light bulb? Pure Light? Is that actually a thing? Is that real? How about Sabinsa? Sabinsa, this is another ad on Peter's website. What the fuck is this? This doesn't even look like a real thing. What is it? Dr. Mohammed Majid was born and raised in Kerala, India. 45 years of experience in pharmaceutical biotech. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So what is it? Some bullshit. Bullshitting.
So all of that stuff was never included in anything in that whole MLM conference. Not once did they say real people are having real experiences with real products, that they will say, either anecdotally or factually, that it saved my life or that it made a big difference. So blah, blah, blah. Nope, all MLM is bad. All MLM is a commercial cult. They should just shut it down if they can. No recruiting, no sales. This is all really bad. And that, again, is my broken record about the flaws in the MLM conference. So back to you, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, for all the research that she did do, you'd think she would have done some research to see if she could balance out the other side of the story.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't read the book. Maybe there's some stuff buried in there, you know, but
well, I've watched 3 interviews and none of it came out. So she did one with the MLM conference. She did one with Julie Anderson, and she did one with Always Stupid Marco, and none of those things ever came out. Now,
woo! I got mentioned. Always Stupid Marco is not even on here today. That's a shame.
Maybe because she was on the home field that it didn't make sense that it comes out.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I haven't read the book, but the 3 interviews that we know about, because I know about all 3 of those too, these are all strong anti-MLM people, so they're not going to bring up anything positive. They're going to be focusing on all negative, and maybe the whole book is that way. I don't know because I haven't read it, but I get the feeling that it was all negative, and certainly with the research she did, she could have found something that was a positive story. So anyway.
Which is totally disingenuous of him to say, because in the book, Little Bosses Everywhere, they keep going. There's like repeated instances of, this woman in Mary Kay, her journey. And she does talk about how like she felt the positivity in the atmosphere and like the motivation and whatever from being around those Mary Kay ladies. So it's not, she didn't omit any positive sentiment.
So the next session here was actually moderated by the guy that was in the previous session, John Brayolt from the National Consumer League, and then Peter Vandernat.
Yeah, they talk so much they have to inform each other when they're done talking. So true. JT, you're so funny.
Who we learned last year does not know what a retail sale is. And Bonnie Patton, who apparently also does not know what a retail sale is, because nobody...
Over, yeah, over. Back to you, Peter. Is there a release date for the Amway documentary? Not yet. Let's drop this next infiltrating first and see Wagwan.
Talks about these things, particularly in terms of Neora, which was an MLM, I think it was 2 years ago now, that the judge came out and said, hey, FTC, you had 5 things you said is wrong with Neora, and you're 0 for 5. Neora wins all 5. So, and so, in fact, Peter Vandernat was at last year's conference, and I know that he had in the past said, the more as time goes on, I believe in the primacy or the very importance of retail sales. And so I was looking forward to the conference last year, thinking, now how is he going to address that? The fact that, because one of the 5 things that the FTC brought up with Neora was, okay, you guys have 1% retail sales. And Neora said, no, we have 70, 80% retail sales. And we were on the show, Peter, 3-4 years ago when that topic first came up, way before the trial. These are so different. Someone has got to be really wrong. And it turns out the FTC and their quote-unquote experts were wrong. And Peter Vandernat didn't bring that up at all last year as far as, being shot down on retail sales. Now, I asked a question. I'm trying to remember if it was posted. I think it was on the conference this year. I submitted the question, and the question was, do you agree that a retail sale is to a non-distributor? And this is my sort of internal requirement, a minimum of 10% markup. Because I think that's reasonable, to have a 10% markup. And I think they actually kind of addressed that in the conference this year. We'll have to wait for by the way, all of these sessions were recorded. They just don't show up right away. But if you go to MLMconference.com, they said in the next week or so, my experience, it's usually the next month or 3 when these videos get posted. So I'm not expecting them next week, but maybe they'll surprise us. But anyway, that's your experts. And Bonnie Patton, who is with Tina.org, and they do a lot of good work, but I don't think they pointed this out either, which is, pretty fundamental if you want to think about MLM and what makes it a legitimate business and not a legitimate business. And of course, most of the people at this conference have the position that there's nothing in the world possible that you could do to make MLM legitimate, period. I'm not even going to listen to anything, as far as they're concerned. They're completely closed off to any idea that MLM could be legitimate. Even in theory, it can't be. So anyway, this session largely focused on HR 3409, which was a bill back in 2017. And remember, bills only hang around for 2 years, because each session of Congress, if the bill doesn't get made into a law, it goes away. And then if you want to make it a law in the next session, you have to resubmit it. And that was the last year that the bill tried to say that you don't have to have retail sales, which basically legalizes illegal pyramids. That's essentially what was being done. And that didn't go through. It didn't even get off the ground, I don't think, hardly. And they haven't tried it since, so it's been a long time. They did say, oh, no, Trump's back in, so they're going to try it again. And remember I said 2017, that was, the Trump first go-around. But this has been tried 2 or 3 times in the past, over the years, since 2005 standpoint, both Democrat and Republican administrations. So, but they definitely have Trump derangement syndrome, thinking that they're going to try to do this again. But the other thing that they brought up, which was interesting, was there's a bill, I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago on the show, in the state of Missouri, where the DSA and Amway walked in there going, yeah, this is my words, not theirs. We want to say...
I think I'm going to do a video on this as well. The potential bill that they're rallying against, the MLMs. The DSA is like scared of this bill. I think it's in Wisconsin or something. No, maybe he was right, Missouri, where it's like trying to basically restrict MLM, put limitations on MLM, and that's like the thing I talked about a few weeks ago on stream, where they're all scared. They're like, please, this is going to be threatening to our way of life and our business.
You don't need to have any retail sales. You can make an illegal pyramid legal just by changing these words. And I think there was 2 people at the conference that said that they wrote a letter to the legislature, basically pointing out that this is not a good thing, and they never heard back. Well, I actually wrote an email the night before, because that's when I found out about this bill, and then I talked to one of the legislative aides the next morning and had a pretty long discussion, I'd say half hour to 45 minutes at least, explaining why this is not a good idea and the importance of retail sales and how this would really not be a good thing. And one of the people, I don't think it was Peter Vandernet, I think maybe it was Doug Brooks, said, well, this is going to be passed in August. And what they told me on the phone is, don't be too worried about this, because number one, the average bill never becomes law, and the ones that do take 6 years. And this one just got started this year. So typically it has to go through, 6 years of analysis and discussion before it becomes a law. So I thought that was a little bit of, Chicken Little in the sky falling down. But it's interesting that they wrote a letter and did not hear back. But I took the initiative to write an email and even told them in the email, hey, I'll come to Missouri. If this hearing wasn't going to be tomorrow, I would be there, because the only people you've heard from,
Scott Johnson, nobody gives a fuck what you think.
I'm talking about the state of Missouri, are the people that are for this bill. You haven't heard the other side in the conference, and the state Missouri conference where they discuss these bills. So I thought that was interesting that these people from these organizations that are, they do have credibility. They just wrote a letter and didn't do any follow-up. They just thought, they didn't get back with me, so that's that. Whereas I keep on things. I follow up, and I do hear back when these things happen. And I'm just a guy, right? I'm not with any organization. So that was an interesting session from my standpoint, and I actually wrote that as part of my questions/comments during the conference. So I know they saw that. They saw, that I claimed that I wrote an email and I talked to legislative aid for, a while on the phone. And by the way, Peter, I also left my phone number in the conference, in the questions.
Oh, good.
And I told them, hey, if you want to learn anything more about this, just call me. And I haven't heard anything, of course, because I'm a Trumper, and they're a bunch of libtards, and they don't agree with my retail.
You're also 95 employees, so anything on a Friday night, you might not hear about them until next week.
Oh my God, hasn't heard of the internet, hasn't heard of cell phones. Saying we are closed off when MLMers tell their candidates not to look into outside information and excuse when the truth is told is they have a different mindset. So true. Delaware with the bill on 48-hour wait period for MLM. Yeah, it's like they're so scared by this,
Working hours.
But that's progress. The fact that there's now a book from a major publisher, Penguin Random House, Little Bosses Everywhere, a major book exposing MLM for what it is. Rather, I should say, not a major book, but a major publisher publishing a book exposing MLM for what it is. That's huge. And then shortly after, we have the bill in Delaware. Bills are being introduced now. Fuck yeah. I'm the best. LOL, me just taking credit. But I am a part of it. I do feel prideful about, or rather proud that I'm contributing to this wider thing, this wider cause.
Good. Exactly. And I'm retired now, so they can call me any time of day or night, but the phone hasn't rang. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting, because I did kind of needle them a little bit, and I also needled them a little bit. I put another comment in asking Peter Vandernet during the conference. This is the MLM conference. Do you agree with the FTC that Neora only had 1% retail sales? Of course, I didn't get an answer for that.
Yeah, I have.
But it was fun to needle him. Because I know they saw it.
He's an older guy.
You got him. What do you mean he's an older guy? You guys are both in your fucking late 60s. What the fuck are you talking about? He's an older guy.
Elderly abuse on him. I don't think.
Elder abuse, Peter. It's really rich you talking about somebody being an older guy and elder abuse when members of your own family have DM'd me on Instagram talking about how you're basically infirm, how you're basically legally blind because of your glaucoma, and you rely on others to do everything for you, to drive you to the store and pick up your medication and all this shit. and you're talking about elder abuse. Shut the fuck up, Peter.
During the conference, this is the MLM conference. Do you agree with the FTC that Neora only had 1%
FTC? His voice cracking,
retail sales? Of course, I didn't get an answer.
Yeah. I have,
but it was fun to needle him, because I know they saw it.
He's an older guy. He's your elderly abuse on him. I don't think he's really.
Yeah, it'd be like fighting, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Spartan. You wouldn't have quit Amway if it wasn't for Always Marco. I love that. Fuck yeah, you stupid fucking asshole. That might be your favorite one. Let me give you that right quick.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, you stupid fucking asshole.
I love it when he gets angry.
Peter Vanden alone. I'm sure he was a good guy when he was younger. People are going to talk about us like that, Scott, in a couple of years, I'm sure, as we kind of get right our way into this.
In a couple of years, we've been talking about you motherfuckers like that for almost 5 years now.
Sunset. So I like Bonnie Patton. I think she's a smart attorney. I think, obviously when you're dealing with this industry and all you do is you see all the negative stuff, it's really easy to see how you might form in your mind that the whole industry is negative. So with the negative advertisements and all the stuff, remember, TINA stands for Truth in Advertising. So she focuses on that a lot. So I suspect she's going to come out and beat up the industry with advertising and all this stuff. So I missed her presentation, so I don't really have much to say about her. I was doing a radio show at that time. So who's next after that?
Yeah, and she did a decent job. I don't have a big problem with her either. I mean, I have a little bit of a problem because I think it was she actually brought it up last year. Let's get together, during the year versus waiting a whole year, to just have another conference. Let's do more in between. And I contacted her office and said, hey, I'd love to do that. In fact, I'd love to show up at the fall annual MLM/DSA visits with the legislators.
Scott, nobody wants to fucking hear from you. Your reputation precedes you, Scott Johnson. Everyone when I was at the conference in 2023, we all made fun of you and laughed at you and talked about how much of a loser you were. Nobody gives a fuck about you. Your opinion is irrelevant. The only reason that you still, that anyone even knows the name Scott Johnson is because of me and my YouTube channel. You're welcome. And you've never said anything of substantive value once in the years that we've been doing this.
In Washington, D.C., and never heard back. So, again, persona non grata, I guess.
Yeah.
So, anyway, all you can do is try. That's
it.
Yeah, we're getting near the end of our time here, aren't we?
Well, we can follow up on this next week, too.
Yeah, we maybe I'll kick this one off, and then we can maybe finish it up, because this is one of the true victories, I think, in going after MLMs, and that's the state of Washington. They had the same two guys that were there last year from the state of Washington, the Attorney General's office, a guy by the name of Ben Brizas or something like that, and Joe Canada with a K, and they described how this past year they had gotten a settlement from Paparazzi, and the previous year, I think it was 1 year ago, they gave their spiel on having success with Lularoe. But with Paparazzi, it was really interesting because Paparazzi signed a settlement with all these additional conditions. I think it was similar to...
No bullshit. When I can't sleep, I play these back. I'm out in 5 minutes. So funny.
To Lularoe. But in the end, they decided just to stop doing business in Washington State. They made a decision, we're out of here, which to me is really taking a big chance, because if I was an attorney general in any other of the 49 states, or 55 if you're Barack Obama, then I would have probably popped my head up going, hey, what's going on there with Paparazzi? And hey, maybe since there's two MLMs, maybe it's not only Paparazzi and Lularoe, maybe it's more MLMs. Maybe I should put more effort into this. So to me, they were taking a pretty big risk of being looked at both individually and as an industry, all the other MLMs, by just pulling out of Washington State completely. But that's what they did. And so they talked about that. And one of the things, I mentioned this before, but one of the things that Washington State did, I'm trying to remember if I don't recall seeing this in the Paparazzi settlement. I think I read the whole thing, but I know for a fact with Lularoe, one of the things that Lularoe agreed to, right, because it's a settlement, they agreed to.
So forget about your boyfriend and meet me at the FTC conference. Forget about your boyfriend and meet me at the legislature. Forget about your boyfriend and meet me at the parliament. Forget about your boyfriend and meet me at the House of Commons. House of Representatives. Oh my God. Forget about your boyfriend and meet me at the White House. Mr. AOC, dale. Give me that sweet, that nasty, that juicy bill. Marco, do you collab with other anti-MLM content creators? I mean, nobody really asks me, to be honest. But yeah, I do. I mean, I would. I fuck with Julie Anderson. I've been on Julie Anderson's stream a few times. Definitely, Julie, we gotta get one in again.
These things is that they would provide the Washington State Attorney General with a list of all the distributors and their contact information, so that if the Attorney General wanted to reach out to these people, they could. Well, given that most MLM distributors don't last more than a year.
And staying true to my word, thanks to Brandon C., who donated to get the sneak peek of the new video. Also, I said if I filled this dono goal, I would do a stream reacting back-to-back to Bye Sister, as well as the James Charles video, No More Lies, which is probably my favorite YouTube video ever. So, yeah, I have to make good on my word to do a stream. But I'm probably not going to do it on this channel. Subscribe to my second channel, Always Marco 2, which I rarely use, but I will upload more like travel content and shit on there in the future. I have so much footage from the last year that I filmed that I never posted anywhere for like security reasons. But I could definitely drop like my Bali vlog on there. But yeah, I'll do a stream on there talking about my favorite YouTube video ever.
Then you also have a list in a very short period of time of a whole lot.
Oh yeah, Danielle Ryan. I met her in Vancouver a few months ago in January. I met her. She was cool.
Of people that quit. And I think you can get a lot more truthful answers out of people that quit than people that are still in, right? Because when you're in, you're trying to protect yourself. Maybe you're upline the company. You don't want to rock a boat. But after you get out, maybe now you have some sour feelings and so forth. And you're probably going to be more honest and more forthright. And probably you're going to communicate a not okay experience. And so I thought that was one of the most clever and significant things that, by the way, I told the FTC they could do the same thing with all MLMs, and they should. So that they have a database where they don't have to go scrounge social media, which to me is probably largely gone into hiding, right, with all these income and product claims, because they know they're being looked at, so they're just going to go undercover now, like Amway has always done, and make the claims in private versus in public. And so if you want that information, you got to talk to those former distributors. And I thought that was one of the best things that Washington State accomplished with their settlement with Lularoe. So anyway, that was sort of the beginning. I'll let you make any other comments, and we'll wrap up for tonight. But there was some pretty good discussion around, especially Washington State. They also talked about Google Trends, which I thought was pretty useless. Stacy Wiley came in there, to your point, with a bunch of information that really has no practical value or very little practical value, in my opinion. I'll put it in there and buy disclaimer. I just thought it was pretty much useless. I mean,
pretty much a waste of time. I mean, they did an informal study with lots of loopholes, and who knows what the hell they did it for. Then they looked at the data from Fortune High Tech Marketing, and I bet you no one listening in even knows who Fortune High Tech Marketing was, because it was like forever and a million years ago, and it didn't make any sense at all. But she was excited. She's sitting there tweaking that data like Jeffrey Toobin.
Yep, that's right. And she was the FTC's quote-unquote expert in the Neora case, and she also did not pick up on the fact that Neora had 70 to 80% retail sales, not 1%. You would think an expert would be able to detect something that's that significant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tratino, I know you're going to appreciate that. Dramageddon, yes, the Dramageddon. I love that fucking video. Do an infiltration with Julie Anderson, that would be dope. The DSA has its panties in a twist over a bill in Delaware. Okay, it must be that one. Marco's starting an anti-MLM conference, the opposite of an Amway convention. That'd be so fun.
But there you go.
Where we do like like a fake conference where everybody's walking across the stage celebrating how much they lost,
Yeah, I guess we can close out for this show here and continue on.
Appreciate you, Clarissa. Def subbing to your second channel. Appreciate you.
Next week, perhaps, with this will be maybe we can do this one right now.
Sure.
Session 4 was, do MLMs contribute to the achievement of the SDG, which stands for Sustainable Development Goals? So this is a big UN thing that Trump has basically pulled out of. He says this is a waste of money and time. We're out of here. We're not doing SDG anymore. And I think he's also pulled out of the WHO, right, the World Health Organization, because it's just a money pit. The U.S. pays for most of it, gets nothing back except useless, woke stuff. And so
I post the most on my Instagram, by the way, at Always Marco. If you want to follow me there, I post the most there.
That's my wrap up of that session.
Perfect. Well, we're going to catch everybody next week. Scott, why don't you give them your website so people can have a frame of reference?
Yeah, for all these things that we're talking about, if you want to find the facts that I have, because I have all the references and everything, if you go to Facebook, facebook.com/Stop the Amway Tool Scam, all one word, Stop the Amway Tool Scam. I've got 3 websites. I've got a YouTube. I've got some other videos.
I'm blocked.
My 2022 input to the FTC's request for information on product and income claims is the pin story at the top. It's all there, my phone number, my email. Anyone wants to discuss any of the stuff, I'm open, except for the one individual that we know and do not love.
I still get a little sneak, like, little implied mention at the end there. Except anyone can contact me. My email and my phone number's there, except that one person we do not love. Let me call Scott Johnson right now. See if I can call him right now. What's his fucking number again? Scott Johnson. Here he is. Which app can I use? Oh, here it is. 386. Just copy that number. Okay. Here we go. Let's dial it in. +1 386 1. Let's give him a ring.
But anyone else is welcome to contact me, and you know.
Here we go. We're ringing. Can y'all hear this? No. It's ringing. I know you can't hear the ringing, but it is.
Hello, this is Peter, and thank you for calling.
Oh, this is Peter. Oh, I called Peter by mistake. How the fuck did that happen? I literally typed in Scott Johnson in my thing. Okay, well, no answer from Peter. Scott Johnson. Here we go. Oh, this is it. The 214 number. Yes. He's probably watching live. +1 214. Let's call it. Scott Johnson.
We'll chat. So, well, thank you, Peter.
Perfect.
I'll look forward to next week.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening in. We'll catch you next time on Building Fortunes Radio.
Play that song.
You've been listening to Building Fortunes Radio on buildingfortunesradio.com. Thanks for listening. Be sure to check us out every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for the designated Building Fortunes.
The call isn't even going through to Scott Johnson, LOL. Okay, well, we did not get a bingo, sadly. I know, I'm sorry. I know. Just answer, what's the worst that could happen? So funny. Blue jacket, baby. For the anti-MLM conference, people would need to wear different colored jackets depending on their anti-MLM level. So funny. Former members say their stories on stage in the anti-MLM conference, then we break the rules of no cross-lining. Hilarious. He said anti-MLM YouTuber. That's a bingo. Did he say it? I didn't hear that. I didn't hear him say anti-MLM YouTuber. Where is it? It's not quite a bingo. I didn't get it diagonally, but I have enough to get a bingo in one direction, but and that's crazy that I got this many because this wasn't even a stream talking about me specifically. If it was, I definitely would have got the fucking bingo, 100%. But it's still a victory because we had fun with the goons, and that's all that matters, basically. That's all that matters, babies. That's all that matters. So we did it. So yeah, infiltrating a pyramid scheme. The next installment, it's at the point where, is it even right to call it a video? It's a documentary at this point, So, yeah, I'm excited for that. Thanks, everybody. Scott and Peter, you're everybody. Hilarious. I'm dyslexic, so who knows? The bingo is the goons we made along the way. So fucking true. Okay, I gotta pee my pants. So, appreciate you guys, and you will see the new video soon with special guest Fidel. Yes, so true. How long will the new video be? Just over an hour, as it currently stands. Chance we will see it this week? I don't know. Honestly, I'm done with it. I just need the my thumbnail guy. Now it's actually not on me, which is great. That feels really good. It's my thumbnail guy, Kyle. So everybody get on Kyle's ass. But I think I'm going to post like the day before. You'll know. Appreciate you guys. See you soon. Very excited. Later.
Marco. Fuck you, Marco. Fuck you, Marco. Fuck you, Marco. Because once you're done burying yourself and you dig yourself into a hole that's so freaking deep, I'm going to just show you how stupid you really are.
Ah!